And then it comes back to you. And obviously, the intent is to you hold up your arm when there's a rocket-propelled fish shoots out and hits someone in the face.
Right.
I mean, that's not a true mechanic. It's just still the thrown property. So I like the idea. If you just rip your arm off and just throw it.
And it just comes back like a boomerang.
Yeah.
Oh, but it just sets up for so many awesome puns. Don't worry, I'll handle this. And then hand.
1d8 at level 14.
It's not that great.
You said you'd handle it. I know, it was just a pun. You guys have to help.
But here's the question.
Looks like he just stepped out of arm's reach. Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your Dungeons & Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Melden.
And we'll be hanging out with you for a while to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This episode, we're taking a look at the Artificer. Yeah, we lied last time. We said Cleric Fighter or whatever it is. Even though we knew this was coming out, we're terrible at planning and changed our mind last minute. So now it's the Artificer. Anyways, pull up a chair and listen up.
All right, so this week we are doing something a little bit different. Instead of a multi-class breakdown, this is just a solo class breakdown. Going to be looking at the Artificer, which just recently came out in Eberron's Rising from the Last War, which is no complicated words for us to mispronounce, but I'm sure we'll say the wrong book title for a solid 2 or 3 months until someone yells at us. So the reason why we're doing this is we do want to fold in the Artificer into our normal multi-classing discussions. We'll have entire episodes with, the Artificer Fighter and Artificer Barbarian and other ones that will kind of be awful, but
Artificer Fighter will be fantastic.
Artificer Fighter will be fine. But I just figured we kind of give an overall breakdown of the class, give some thoughts. We did the same thing back in, I believe, March when the UA got released. I believe that enough things have changed that it warrants its own discussion. This is going to be very, very general, but Kevin, what are your first thoughts on this new Artificer class?
I like it.
Okay, Will, first thoughts.
It's great.
All right. I think it's so-so. One of the things... What's that?
Actual series first thoughts. I do like it. I like the flavor of it. I mean, I guess that's not a new thing that's kind of tech-based magic user, but I do really love the flavor of it, and in different campaigns, especially like Eberron or different homebrew stuff and things like that, could fit really well. Fills this niche that doesn't really exist in D&D.
I think that's what's been kind of interesting to me is they started releasing UAs for the Artificer, I believe back in 2017. We used that for a campaign, and it felt extremely lackluster. They released another one back in early this year, March 2019, and it definitely felt a little bit more segmented, but they spent a lot of time on the Artificer, to say the least, to make sure that it feels like a different class. I don't look at this and go, well, it's basically just a ranger or something dumb like that. This is its own class, and it sets out to do that, and it succeeds.
That original... what's this class called? Artificer. That original Artificer was that was the situation where they had two options that made sense in combat: throw fire or throw acid. And every time that was all you could do. It was just like a barely reflavored sneak attack.
Right. And they started to get really out of hand, where it's just oh yeah, you throw fire and then it does 8d8 damage.
It's should that have been an action for free as a cantrip? Probably not.
Yeah. What could we compare this to? Being able to do for free every single round without any real cost besides your action. A cantrip? Ha! No, that would be ridiculous.
But we had a psionic in that campaign, didn't we too?
We did have a psionic for a little bit.
Why do we do these things?
I think we just wanted to try them out. But now I haven't seen a UA at the table in a minute. We don't touch that too much.
Right.
Because we learned our lessons.
We also learned our lessons. Since Xanathars came out, that kind of felt like the end to a lot of the UAs.
Right.
That's, the UAs, subclass UAs has been capped. Here's the official ones.
Right, but they did just recently release a ton.
Yeah, they started again, yeah.
But I don't think anybody at the table has any major interest in them. I guess we'll see the next time we start a new campaign with new characters.
Someone has to make a character.
Right. Yeah. But all right, so Artificer. Starting at the very beginning, one thing that I want to kind of focus on with this is how it ties into multi-classing. We don't want to obviously go into specific other classes and how it will work with that as a whole, but just kind of keeping that in mind of what this will look like when you multi-class with it, because there's, I don't know, again, it's different. If you're not familiar with the idea of an Artificer, they are a tinkerer and a caster, but it seems like their magic really comes from their understanding of technology and their weaving of that with the arcane. Adding that on top of any other class is going to be probably asking a lot, but there's a lot of multi-classes like that, and we make it work, like the Monk Paladin. Silence. All right. So for what it's worth, the multi-classing requirement for the Artificer is going to be a 13 in intelligence. The only other one that has that requirement is a wizard, so it's nice to see something else asking for that, another intelligence caster as well. When it comes to proficiencies gained, it looks a lot like any other martial character, really. You get light armor, medium armor, shields, thieves' tools, and tinkerer's tools, if, again, you're multi-classing into it after you initially start. And then for spell slots, it's just considered a half-caster. Something weird right off the bat, though, is they're the only half-caster that gets spells at first level. So I'm wondering if when you're multi-classing into an Artificer, do you think that still holds true, or does it hold on to this, as it says, add half your levels, round it up in the Artificer class, and you take the appropriate ones there? So is a one-level dip into Artificer always going to guarantee you that first level?
Yeah,
Okay.
you would start, so your one level dip, you take half of it and half a level round up to level 1.
Right.
And then keep in mind, you don't get the spells listed here.
Correct.
You look at the multi-classing table of spells. So actually, I think it gives you more. Don't you start with 3 first level spells instead of 2?
No. Normally you start off with. Oh, you're saying at the first level of spellcaster.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe you normally get 3 to start. So multi-classing into it, I guess it would, but that would only really come up if you were. I mean, it really couldn't come up because either you're starting an Artificer and you start with that first level. And then you get the 2 spells, or you're starting in literally anything else, and then when you take a dip into Artificer, it puts you up to that 1. So it shouldn't change too much.
Oh, no, never mind. I was wrong.
Oh, what's
multi-class and spellcaster? If you're a first level spellcaster, you have 2 first level spells.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't change anything at all.
Nope.
So you're basically just on par with any other spellcaster at level 1 compared to a normal half-caster like a ranger, which is a little bit behind. They don't get spellcasting until level 2. Same with a paladin.
Right.
Interesting. So their first thing, and this has not changed at all from the UA back in March, is the magical tinkering. So this is mostly a flavor thing, but it's pretty neat. They can basically just make an object have a magical property, make it shed bright light, have it emit a recorded message. It would continuously emit an odor if you would like it to, or a non-verbal sound. Could be nice if you want to have sleep sounds set up. Your party's going to sleep. It's really difficult because you're in the Underdark. Have like a white noise machine.
Yeah, that totally balances out. Nobody has to make wisdom saves. The white noise generator totally gets the demons out of your head.
I would be terrified right now, but luckily there's waves crashing in the background. And then lastly, just a static visual effect appears on one of the object's surfaces. A lot of this sounds like a minor illusion, or at least similar to a minor illusion.
Say more prestidigitation.
Yep, you're correct.
Which, I don't know, I'm actually not a big fan of this first level ability, magical tinkering, because it really just seems like a class feature that could be covered with the prestidigitation cantrip. The only thing is it has the flavor baked in about how you're doing it on devices instead of just magic. But then there's the little Artificer sidebar within spellcasting that says you could flavor their magic as you're using technology and little gadgets and machines anyways.
Fair enough.
So it just feels unnecessary.
Okay, I get that. I mean, it definitely gives you a little bit more than prestidigitation. It also gives you less. You can't, reflavor food.
Right.
Which is a bummer because that's always really useful. I think
It's just bullying.
As an example, I believe, Kevin, your character made somebody's food taste like snot recently. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's mostly just bullying. But this can make light. I don't think prestidigitation can make light.
The light cantrip can.
Yes, it can. There are other cantrips, but this, you don't have to take a cantrip though. Then also the message, the recorded message, I think is not something covered by any other cantrip. So that alone is at least different. But at the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to how creative you are as a player in order to use it, which is kind of a common theme of this Artificer as a whole. A lot of these things seem pretty mundane and could honestly be forgotten, but if you're really just clever and trying to constantly think of how to use every tool at your disposal, I think you'll get a lot of mileage out of these things. So I think you're right. It is a lot like Prestidigitation, and they could probably have just given you Prestidigitation as a cantrip you always have, talk about how it's reflavored a little bit differently, right. And I don't think I'd fight that too much. It's definitely not the strongest first level one in general.
No, definitely not. So just to kind of go down the multiclassing thing right away, a 1-level dip in Artificer, I think is almost completely worthless.
I agree. Yeah, I mean,
because the only other thing you get is spellcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have the 13 in intelligence and all you're doing is going for a little bit of spellcasting, just go wizard.
Right. Right.
You get a bigger list. And
yeah, no, I think that's a very good point compared to like a cleric, where a 1-level dip is always going to be extremely well, not always. It's going to be a lot more worthwhile, where they get really strong stuff at first level, class defining stuff even.
Right.
This, not so much. You're like, hey guys, I learned how to use my Tinkerer tools better. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. Before we move on, we did miss a couple basic class features, like their hit dice is a D8, which is decent. Not at least it's not a D6.
Right.
They have proficiency in light armor, medium armor, and shields. All simple weapons, but not martial weapons. Thieves tools, Tinkerer tools, and a type of artisan tools. Saving throws are Constitution and Intelligence. And then skills are, you could choose to from Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, or Sleight of Hand.
Con and Intelligence is actually a really good batch of saving throws. At least having it in Constitution. That means that you get your proficiency bonus in concentration checks, right? Because that's considered a con saving throw.
Yes.
I mean, that right there is fantastic.
Definitely.
Are there any spellcasters that get Constitution as a saving throw?
I don't think so.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Only one that would make sense is like a warlock or a sorcerer, but I don't know what they get.
Charisma,
obviously charisma. Yeah, I don't
charisma,
know the other one.
Charisma and wisdom or something like that.
Yeah. Well, either way, that's really nice, especially for a half caster. Your spells are going to be pretty limited in use. You don't want to break concentration. Yeah. So
and
always nice.
Yeah, warlock has wisdom and charisma.
Okay.
It's always like one not so great one and one great one.
Yeah, you have the 3 main saving throws: dexterity, constitution, and wisdom, and then the 3 lesser: strength, charisma, and intelligence. And it's usually always a mix of those 2.
Right. So then the skills...
sorcerers get constitution.
Oh, okay.
Constitution and charisma.
Okay, so that's one other. There is a precedent. So for the skills, you said Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, and Sleight of Hand. All of those fit. I don't think there's any that I'm like, where did that come from? Besides maybe Sleight of Hand. It doesn't seem wrong. It just doesn't fit as well as the others.
It makes a lot of sense because they're tinkerers.
Right.
So they use slight movements of their hands.
I don't think that's the right sleight.
But it is pronounced the same. But sleight of hand is always like, pickpocket and only pickpocket or hide stuff. But it makes sense if you're like a dexterous craftsman.
Yeah, that's fair. I think a lot of time, I would feel like that's going to be a little bit wasted unless you're trying to do some type of sneaky arcane trickster, though, because anything else you have, you're just going to use one of your tool proficiencies. Like if you're trying to pick a lock, you don't need sleight of hand, you need thieves' tools. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to do anything else, again, working with something, you've got tinkerer's tools, you've got thieves' tools. Those 2 are taken care of. I don't really care about sleight of hand.
No, it's a pretty terrible skill overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a certain...
Anyone who specializes in it is like immediate. That should be a warning sign. If you take that, you know exactly what that player is going to do, and it's going to be annoying every session.
Does Embers have sleight of hand?
Yeah.
He has
expertise in it.
It's already been an issue.
How?
Has it?
Yes, you steal stuff. Stop stealing stuff.
Oh.
Don't steal from the party.
Not yet.
I will appreciate
that. No, I'm not going to cross that line.
Never, ever let your players steal.
You're weirdly playing a noble rogue.
Mm-hmm.
It fits,
Who
but...
compulsively steals shit. He doesn't have control. It's a mental illness.
Such a cop-out.
I like it.
Oh, man, I've got issues, so I have elaborate plays to steal things I want. It's not like impulsive at all. We have to take sidebars where Kevin puts the entire party's legal status in jeopardy. For nothing!
What are you talking about? You got a nice dress.
And he had to give it back. He didn't sell it. He just draws it. God. Yeah, I would be incredibly frustrated by that, but Musty doesn't care. So
That's good. Thank God that Musty doesn't mind because Will's screaming on the inside.
Furbolgs don't have a traditional property rights, so it doesn't really matter.
So, gone through what they get at the start, gone through first level. Really, though, talking about their spellcasting, you brought this up earlier, but just to, I guess, reiterate, their spellcasting is, for the most part, similar to everyone else's if you want it to be, but it gives you some nice options for reflavoring that almost feel necessary as a whole. Like if you can use your tools, whatever your artisan tools are, to cast spells, to have that be your focus. So it's really trying to immediately just say, like, this is a technology-based thing. And it even talks about how your spells don't need to be just magic happens. It's more of like you worked with this device and then you put together this device to do this thing. So if you have a firebolt cantrip, then it's because you have a little wristwatch or something that you've tinkered with to shoot out fire.
Right.
Okay, great.
Exactly. And that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's super cool.
Whatever you want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And so...
and they are preparation casters.
Correct.
Should be mentioned. So they have access to their whole spell list, level dependent, and can prepare every morning. And that idea of they're tinkering with technology and making little gadgets feeds into it. They're preparing for spells is not praying to a god or harnessing energy or studying a spell book. They're breaking down and tweaking their gadgets to have other effects.
Right.
Which I think is really cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think this is kind of skipping ahead, but at some point they can change their cantrips, can't they? Or is that the previous one? I know in the UA from March, at 10th level, they got the ability to change their cantrips on a long rest. I'm not sure if they left
when
that
you gain
in.
a level in this class, you could replace one of the cantrips
Okay, so now it's when you gain a level.
Yeah.
Again, before it was 10th level, you got to just swap them out at a long rest. I wonder how that will look with a lot of this revised class stuff, as they recently have done.
Did they let you
that
do that
UA?
with cantrips?
Yeah, isn't that a lot of the revised stuff? I think this is just a baked-in version because they clearly want to go that direction.
Right, yeah, and I think that makes the most sense. Usually cantrips, I don't know, I always hated cantrips being just stuck with. I think there's a lot of times people realize that they just...
In defense of that, if you read the quote-unquote lore on cantrips, they're very clear why it's that way. It is supposed to be the magical version of muscle memory.
Okay.
You've done this spell so many damn times that it's just ingrained in your brain.
Okay.
So you can't just wake up in the morning and suddenly be good at a different thing. You haven't done that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I like it on level up. That's still pretty big, pretty spread out.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're right that with that in mind, it's more of why would you ever be able to forget it? Yeah, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, that's
if you don't use it for a while.
I mean
that
that's
is
fair.
how muscle memory works. It's
right. Obviously, it's not limiting that. It's not saying if you don't use this cantrip for an entire level, then you can switch it out.
Yeah.
It's just saying, you can switch it out. And then, maybe that's...
It's kind of like playing an instrument. Well, in high school, you played bass. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you picked up a bass guitar?
It's probably been about 700 years. I don't know.
If you were to pick one up and play now, do you think you would be just as good as you were last time you were playing?
I would probably be 60% as good.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems a little generous, but even still, 60%. I mean, that's a big loss.
Yeah, you lose a decent.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is I forget all the details of playing a bass. I could do all the finger stuff fine, but it's I don't know what these metal bar things mean.
I think a good comparison is think about when you're using a cantrip. It's in combat. You wouldn't get up on stage after not using a bass for almost a decade now and be all right, now I'm going to perform.
What song are we doing, guys?
Right.
I know nothing. I don't remember.
Yeah. I think I got the F chord down.
Yeah. In the same way that you wouldn't want to just hop into battle after not using a cantrip for months and months and years or however long and just start flinging it around. You'd be oh God, this sucks. I messed up a couple of times. You gotta, get it down again. You
know what I really don't like about spellcasting in D&D? The way you learn it. I understand this is not a a Harry Potter wizard simulator. This is a traditional role-playing game with dungeons and stuff. But you just like wake up and suddenly you know the spell that you've never casted before. You don't have to practice at all.
I kind of blame characters for that one.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I feel like that's one of those, like, what do you do in your downtime? It's like, I'm going to practice new spells and, look for new... It works really well for a wizard. I'll say for a cleric, it is kind of like, yeah, you're blessed with more spells.
Yeah, that one's pretty clear cut.
Paladin too. But I mean, every other one, Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster, like there should be some level of paying attention to the arcane. At least you should get, Wizards Weekly or something, so that you're like, okay, they're at least, making an effort to continue their knowledge in the
45
arcane.
miles away from the nearest city. How do these owls keep finding us? It's Wizards Weekly, man. I'm sure they've got great owls.
You just look over the end user license agreement, and it's just like, we do have the right to scry on you at any time.
Oh, that's great flavor. And topical, too, with all the privacy concerns of the modern era.
All right. That's a little bit cringe, bro.
All right. I love that Facebook sells my data.
All right. So back on the Artificer, taking a look at really what starts to make them the Artificer is their second level ability, and that's their ability to infuse items with magic. And again, I think that's really what's going to define them. It's kind of in the same vein as the Warlock's invocations, where everybody, you can have 30 people playing the same Artificer with the same class, but if you throw on 2 different infusions that they use, or a couple different infusions, it can totally shake it up. And that I really appreciate, because I love those classes that just feel like they've got a million options. If you get a bunch of different people in a room who are all playing a champion fighter, they're going to be playing the same champion fighter.
Right.
And this, it's just like a very open door. Some of it, is along the lines of helping out yourself or your friends, making weapons stronger or your armor stronger. And those are really simple. But I think where the door starts to open is when you get to ones where you can just make magic items with it. And
the replicate magic item.
Yeah.
So just a high level kind of quick thing of how infusions work. You have a known number of infusions. It starts at 4 and it goes up as you level. And then there's a certain number of items you can infuse. So you infuse an item with these magical properties. So at first you start with 4 known and you can infuse 2 items. And then you can, after a long rest, you could switch them around. If you just leave it, it stays. It'll kind of stay indefinitely. Unless you die, then it fades after a certain number of days.
It's like a certain number of days equal to your intelligence modifier. Yeah. Which, if that comes up, you fucked up. So,
well, yeah, Artificer, how long is my magic sword going to last, though? That's really important.
Shaking him. What's your intelligence modifier?
Yeah, so then after a long rest, you could switch them out, infuse different items and whatnot. Some infusions require attunement. If you are using the item yourself as the Artificer and requires attunement, just the act of casting the infusion makes it attuned to you. If it's someone else, they have to spend the time to attune to it following standard attunement rules.
There's a lot of stuff in this class that reads like that, and every time I'm just like, yeah, that's fair. I get it. It would be kind of silly if you're just like, yeah, I cast it, and you're immediately attuned to it. I feel like that's easy enough to break. How often can you re-infuse something? Is that on a long rest?
Yeah.
Okay.
After a long rest.
Yeah, so I mean, that's, you spend a whole long rest making the infusion or infusing the thing. To make it take another hour would just feel kind of silly.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, though, I feel like the infusions they have are relatively simple. I'm excited to see already, like, what comes out in the future, just like, again, with Warlocks and Invocations, where they've continued to add more through Xanathars and a couple of UA ones that have passed through. I feel like right now they kept it pretty bare bones, but it's still enough to really define your play style. But I do, again, just want to see more. First one being like Boots of the Winding Path. You can teleport as a bonus action, 15 feet.
That's actually pretty dope.
That's pretty nice. I mean, that's
back to a space you've already entered that turn.
Correct.
Which is still really cool.
That is really cool.
I think that's a really good ability, especially you give that to like the rogue or maybe not because they can disengage as a bonus action. Give it to any melee.
Yeah, really anyone. And that's I think what's important to remember is these don't have to be on the Artificer. They are
Right.
made by the Artificer, but you can give them to whoever. So if you want to play the Artificer who's hoarding all of your attunements, great, fine. But you can also do it where you're just specifically trying to think of who is best suited to have these things.
And I think that's where the Artificer really shines. If you try and play it where everything I make I'm just using for myself, you're gonna feel like a really lackluster character.
Right.
Like,
I've got a better weapon, I've got better armor, and it's like, oh, but I'm still a shitty fighter.
Right. It's like, I'm just still not that great at any of this stuff. They're the ultimate support character, is how I see them.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's a lot of different ways with their subclasses how to approach that support. But yeah, the infusions, like looking through these, I could actually see, like if I was playing an Artificer, there's a good chance I would not have a single infusion on me. They'd be given away to the party.
Right. You might, find one or two. Like I think one that is pretty big is the Homunculus Servant. So that was one that was baked into a subclass, the Alchemist subclass in the previous UA. But they just made it an infusion so that anyone can get this now. And it basically gives you a kind of a familiar that has a lot more range to it, where it actually levels up with you and gets more HP and proficiency bonuses and all of those things. But that's its 6th level thing, and you can basically just use it to help.
Pretty much what you would with a familiar.
Yeah,
basically. You have to use a bonus action to command it to attack, I think.
Correct.
And then its attacks isn't that good.
No.
It's +4 to hit. Range in 30 feet, so that's nice. And then it's 1d4 plus 2 force damage. And every time your proficiency modifier goes up, the +2 goes up by 1.
Compared to the traditional familiar, that's much better attack.
Yeah,
definitely.
The traditional familiar can't attack.
Exactly. 1d4 is almost always better than no d4s.
Right.
I think do you need to... Okay, never mind. It's right here. In combat, the homunculus shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action unless you take a bonus action to command it. From there, it can dash, disengage, help, hide, or search, or do anything else in its stat block.
Yeah.
This thing is vastly hardier than any familiar too.
Definitely. And I think it's one of those things where, yes, the Force Strike is not very good. I'm not going to argue that. It's 1d4 plus 2 at the start. And again, that goes up with your proficiency
plus 3,
bonus.
plus 4, plus 5. I mean, that's nothing.
One thing that is kind of odd is you can't get this until level 6. So your proficiency bonus would already be +1. Or I'm sorry, plus 3.
1 above the starter.
Right. 1 above the starter, because that goes up at 5, I believe. So
that sounds right.
I think it would already start when you actually get this at +5 and
1d4 plus 3.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Again, it's not a ton of damage, but it's still on average 5 damage as a bonus action.
Yeah.
If you have nothing else for your bonus action, okay. I mean, it's a ranged attack.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not losing anything by using it.
And you are right. Well, it's just kind of like a hardier familiar, which is nice.
And it
has evasion,
magic too.
Which all familiars do. You could cast spells through the homunculus,
right?
As it with a range of touch, it could be through the homunculus as long as you're within 120 feet. That's really nice. But I mean, any familiar could do that. It's the more hit points, because standard familiars hit points have 1. That's it.
Yeah.
This one is the homunculus's Constitution modifier plus your intelligence modifier plus your level in the class.
Which still isn't going to be crazy.
Right at level at the first level you have 6 plus the Constitution +1, so 7 plus your intelligence. At 6th level, +4, +5. So you might survive a hit.
It's not crazy.
Does their Constitution ever go up?
No, I don't believe so.
I wonder why it doesn't just say 1 plus your intelligence plus your level in this class.
I don't know.
They do that shit all the time.
Yeah,
I feel like it should be Constitution modifier per level. Like, so it's almost, then it would be adding 2 per of your level. That would be kind of silly. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's
you're right. It's at level 6, 11 HP is still probably going to die in a hit.
1 or 2 at most. So it's a little bit hardier than a familiar, but it's not going to get you everything that you want. I think if in your current position as an arcane trickster rogue, you would probably rather have this than you would the owl. Well, maybe not, because your owl has flyby.
Right.
Which is really nice.
Yeah. So I could also just make him disappear.
Yeah, and you can just make
away
him
to
disappear.
pocket dimension as an action to keep him safe. This thing's kind of always out. It's a mechanical servant.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I remember in the UA before, it had like a whole thing around like being able to heal with the homunculus. But this time around,
Well, you could cast mending on it.
no.
He was
It
a
itself,
pool of healing.
it would deliver salves.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's when the entire subclass was built around it.
Correct.
So it was, of course, a lot stronger.
Looking at it now, it's actually not that impressive.
I'd rather take another infusion.
Yeah, I'm
like, I
totally
don't-
with you.
Yeah, but what
I feel
infusion
like
would
maybe
you
we're
take?
missing something. So
No, it's a fine thing. It has competition.
right.
And this is not going to change the way you play your game.
Yeah, especially
No.
at 6th level, like the radiant weapon infusion, +1. So you could do an any martial weapon, and it becomes a +1 weapon while you're holding it. You could do as a bonus action called bright 30-foot radius of dim light, bright light.
All right, Kevin.
I'm just tripping all over.
All right,
the
I
words,
got you.
man.
I got you. Don't worry, buddy. I'll carry this. So the radiant weapon infusion is going to give you a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, and it will shed 30 feet of bright light and 30 feet of dim light. It also has some charges to it, and as a reaction, they can or attempt to blind the attacker until the end of the next turn. Believe they have a Constitution saving throw to it. Yeah, so they have to make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, or they can ignore the blinding then. One thing that I had a question about with that is it specifically says this magic weapon grants a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. If you already have a +1 weapon, can you use it on this?
Can you infuse magic things?
I don't know, because it says a simple or martial weapon. I don't know if a magical martial weapon overrides that. If it now
No,
becomes
it's
uninfusable.
non-magical object. Infusing an item says non-magical, so
That's specifically in infuse item.
yeah.
Okay, good, because that would have been kind of silly.
That would have been that would have totally broken the game.
All right, so I mean, yeah, that's nice. One thing that I worry about with these types of things, though, is it almost makes it even harder to give the party magic items. Because you can be like, oh, here's a +1 sword. And then everyone's like, yeah, I mean, I've had a +1 sword the entire time. And now the Artificer is like, well, I guess I can just move
Have
it
a
to something
homunculus
else
now.
Yeah, I guess I get a homunculus
So
now.
yeah, that's the thing. When you give them magic, you choose your infusions based off what you have and who's in your party. If
Right.
everybody's got a +3 magic sword because your DM doesn't know what he's doing, don't take the +1 or +2 infusion.
Why did you look at me when you said that?
Mistakes were made. White Plume Mountain was conquered. It literally has a section in it. It's like, if you accidentally gave your players these weapons, you got to take them away, man.
Whatever. We move on.
Yeah. So that brings up a really good point, though. The Artificer, just as a whole, I think it's really campaign dependent. That's kind of true for any sort of class or subclass.
Right.
But it's doubly so for the Artificer, because a lot of their stuff is around infusing items, replicating magic items, or effects of magic items. And if you're in a campaign where magic items are a dime a dozen, they're going to feel a little lackluster.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, if you're one of those campaigns where any city is going to have the magic item shop, and it's this massive, perfectly organized warehouse of rows and rows and rows of every magic item in existence as long as you have the money for it, and you're getting tens of thousands of gold every few days from delving a dungeon, it's like the Artificer is going to feel really crappy.
Right.
If you're in our current campaign, which is super magic light, and I think we got one magic item, and we still don't really know what it does. The
Which
sphere.
one's that? Oh, yeah. I don't know
got a
what that does. I just keep kind of kicking the can down the
and
road.
you got a stick where 4 times a day you could add 1d4 poison damage to an
6
attack.
times a day, Kevin.
All right,
They are
yeah.
level 7.
Yeah.
At this point, in Storm King's Thunder, I'm pretty sure I already gave a +2 maul.
Right.
And a bunch of other plus items.
Right.
I mean,
But yeah, so in our campaign, the Artificer is going to feel absolutely fantastic.
right. I actually worry to some extent, small extent, of whether or not it would make how I structure campaigns. It would almost like kind of blow it the fuck out.
What it does is kind of robs the DM of their agency.
But I don't think that I would. I'm not going to fight that. I'll just say that if like we did a time skip and it made sense for somebody to be an Artificer, I wouldn't be like, oh, you can't do that because you get magic items and I don't want that. But what it does do is it makes it even harder for me to justify giving you magic items. It almost
Right.
becomes like, why would why do you need me to give you a +1 scimitar?
Just go find an Artificer, God.
No, if you have an Artificer in the party, it's like you're going to rely on them to some extent, and you're going to be balancing around the Artificer at the very least. It's
Right.
like, I wouldn't want to introduce too much, and then the Artificer's like, I've got free reign, I can do whatever I want with my infusions now. It's almost like, okay, you figure out the infusions, and then when I notice that the Cleric is super lacking compared to everyone else, now I'm going to give you guys a magic item for them and boost them back up. But you can't, I say it's just something you have to be conscious of as a DM, is the Artificer is going to throw a wrench into the magic item economy.
Right. But on the flip side of that, so if you're the DM and you say, oh, they have an Artificer, I'm just going to kind of let them be an Artificer and not really give magic items, then that character's killed.
What do you mean? Oh,
then the Artificer's killed.
Oh, right.
All these
No,
magic
no.
items go away.
Sorry, I thought you meant like the class concept is killed. You mean like if that character literally dies.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They've got like 4 days. They still get it to find another Artificer.
The poor player, they're like, all right, well, that was really fun, but I've never played a sorcerer, and I think I'm going to do this cool sorcerer warlock multiclass and got this whole cool thing planned. No, you got to do an Artificer, man.
You can't just take our magic items away, man.
Same infusions, please. I got used to this.
You can change your subclass. I don't care, but I need the same infusions. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something to cross that bridge when you come to it. I would be hesitant about handing out magic items, but at the same time, if everybody lost their magic items and then next week there was absolutely none, it's like, okay, well, you're not going to fight something that's this hard. You're going to fight something a little bit less hard, because I can recognize as a DM and adjust accordingly.
Or you're just a dick and you throw them in a ghost and they're like, oh, why don't our attacks work at all?
Should have silvered your weapons when you had the chance. I always give the option of silvering weapons and nobody ever takes it. Like, that's really expensive, and it's
so
just
expensive.
it's just good against ghosts. I'm like, yeah, it's just good against ghosts.
I think devils too.
No, not devils.
There's something like
it's-
that. Something fiendish.
I think it's just ghosts and werewolves.
Yeah, I think werewolves definitely. And I think there are some fiends in there that is like, also the silver will work as a magic weapon.
Oh,
But
okay.
nobody ever goes into the point that silver is really, really, really crappy to make weapons out of.
And just like not a great metal.
I know it's a fine metal for anything outside the realm of swordcraft.
Right.
It is soft as shit.
Right.
You would have to sharpen it like every 3 swings.
I mean, silver does impact all devils.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have the resistance on where'd it go? Yeah, the bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't silvered.
Oh, okay.
That's a
stealing?
standard devil thing.
I don't know. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, no, it wouldn't work.
No.
Especially if you use it on a non-ghost. If you hit someone in armor with your silvered sword, it's just going to ruin it.
Bounce off.
Dent it.
All of that's just ignored because we're playing a game and it's more fun
I think
too.
the idea is the blade has a very thin coating of sharpened silver over it. It's not the entire sword is made out of silver.
Oh, no, I understand that. Yeah. That coating would be gone. Like instantly.
Oh, well. I do, we briefly brought it up, the Radiant Weapon. I really like that. Yeah. That's really cool. Just not only gives it, the +1 to attack and damage rolls, but also just the being able to blind the attacker. I love that infusion. As you said, in comparison to the homunculus, it's like, why would I ever take that? Why would I want the homunculus?
Right. Yeah,
Everything else is pretty straightforward.
Right. A bunch of different versions of enhanced blink, enhanced weapon, enhanced defense, enhanced whatever.
Right.
Where it creates the weapon, the armor +1. There's the arcane focus where you could get, which I feel is a little more rare for magic items. So it's nice that you could get that right away at level 2 at a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls.
And it doesn't even say leveled ones, right? So that includes any cantrip. Oh, is it just spell attack
A
rolls?
rod,
It's not
staff,
damage.
or wand. While holding this item, creature gains a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls. In addition, the creature ignores half cover when making attacks.
That's nice.
Yeah, then at 10th level goes up to 2. So it's nice that they've kind of automatically leveled it up with you.
I feel like that doesn't affect a ton of things at low levels, though.
What do you mean?
Like
Spell
the spell attack rolls.
That's
How many?
every spell.
No. Spell attack rolls are not every spell. Scorching Ray is a spell attack.
Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Fire.
Firebolt. Yeah, there's a lot.
That's like, that is like your bread and butter for
Okay, all right.
most casters.
No, that's fair. But it doesn't do damage, though, which is I'm fine with because most of the level 5 abilities get something for that in the subclasses. We'll talk about that when we come around to it. But after that, I kind of wish that there were more of these Radiant Weapon type infusions.
I think they're waiting to sell you another book full of them. Not to question
Why? So
wizards,
you
but-
could do this on any simple or martial weapon.
Right.
So what do you mean more?
I just mean I wish that there were more options. I feel like the radiant weapon is a really good step
more
in that
like
direction.
that. Okay.
Yeah. But then after that, I mean, like everything you're looking at is basically just enhanced blank, enhanced this. Even
like enhanced net.
right. Well, here we got
the repeating shot.
that's nice. I'm not saying that that's bad in any way. It's just they're all the same concept of take this non-magical item and make it basically what you'd get as a +1 of that magical item.
Sort of. With repeating shot, though, so it's anything that requires ammunition, it does become a +1, and you get to ignore the loading property.
Right.
I mean, that's really cool on
No.
crossbow.
I am not disagreeing. That is really cool.
And it makes it magical, and you don't have to track ammunition.
Nobody tracks ammunition anyways.
I've been secretly tracking the ammunition for years now.
It feels good knowing that like you're not just like fudging that in the back of your mind. Like you have a solid reason of why you're not doing it.
So the reason,
I think that's just you, Kevin. You're the only one who feels better about that. Everyone else is like, what? Managing ammunition? That's dumb.
no, it's fun, dude.
It's not. Nobody has fun doing little resource counters.
Have you seen like popular games in Steam? It's like count your wheat, the game. You just sit there counting your wheat.
Repulsion shield, another 6 level one, so +1 to AC. And then when you get hit, you have 4 charges. When you get hit, you can expend a charge to blast someone back 15 feet.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was kind of what I gave Saucy in Out of the Abyss, which
Yeah.
was just a coincidence.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
similar, but
What you didn't? I thought you worked for Wizards of the Coast.
I'm
And
pretty sure this was in the old one too. But what you're saying though is you want that uniqueness, not just the +1ness. The +1 thing, it just like fills out the class basic utility to justify it. And then you get to make your magic items, and I think that's what they were like, I don't feel like making more yet.
yeah.
Fair, but then after 6th level, beyond the magic items that you can create, there's nothing. It doesn't give you any like, oh, here's this 17th level one that's going to knock your socks off. You know, a radiant weapon that's +3 and has, 30 charges, because at that point, balance
That's exactly how I would
win.
scale that. +90.
Point is, though, I mean, like, after you get to 6th level, you're probably gonna like feel pretty comfortable with the infusions you got. Maybe you'll switch them around. Maybe you're like, oh, okay, we don't need the radiant weapon. The paladin's doing fine, or they found another one. I'm gonna switch it to the shield. But when you get a new infusion, you're gonna look immediately at this magic item list, and we actually haven't talked about this yet. So the main, as we're saying, bread and butter of this is replicate magic item. They get a whole list at 2nd level, 6th level, 10th level, 14th level, all of those, of just items that they can make with these infusions.
Yeah, and it's specifically how it works is when you take the replicate magic item infusion, you pick an item on the list that's level appropriate, and then that's that infusion. You don't get to change the magic item every day.
Correct.
You could take this replicate magic item infusion as many times as you want, though. I would also imagine on level up, you could say, all right, I'm changing the replicate magic item alchemy jug to replicate magic item boots of elvenkind. Basically, you're forgetting it and then retaking it. But
Only makes sense.
yeah.
This is actually a way better idea than the transmutation scammer.
What's that?
You sell magic items.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying. That's a lot of startup money.
Yeah, that sounds very abusable.
Okay, so you're saying the idea is you make a magic item with your infusion. You go, hey, look, I've got an alchemy jug. You can have as much mayonnaise as you want. And then you sell it to somebody for like 500 gold.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, you're like, it's not
Even
yours
just the next
anymore.
day, you leave town and then you just recast that infusion on another item, and that one fades, and it's not this new item.
That'd be a really dick move, guys. Don't do that.
I know. And the DM would have to create this giant reputation where you're the guy who sells broken infinite mayonnaise jugs.
Why do people keep buying these? The people love mayonnaise.
There's no Consumer Protection Bureau.
I mean, you definitely can get like a lot of really nice things. Not so much at 2nd level. I like that one of them is a bag of holding, mostly because I am withholding a bag of holding, even though you guys are at level 7. It hasn't come up once though.
Nah.
I feel like the bag of holding is like kind of overblown. It seems like it's given in every single campaign, but like it's really not necessary.
No, it actually is in every single official campaign. There's just like entire like towns full of shit to give your players.
Right.
And they have nowhere to put it.
Right.
So you're like, oh, here's a bag of holding. So they can take everything out of they can peel the gold leaf out of a sarcophagus.
And that's
because that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, but like that's what I hate. I hate that hoarder mentality. I feel like it just like doesn't, it's the opposite of how I want to run a game. So no bag of holdings until I, just get bored of it. But I say, it's not like you guys have been playing and you're like, oh man, without this bag of holding, our entire strategy is thrown off. We should have one of those by now. It's the same game. You just can't, put in sacks of gold.
We can't steal every book in a library for no reason.
For no reason at all.
Actually, that would have been worth it. Who would we have even sold that to, though? Nobody buys books in this world.
Most of them can't read. That's not true.
Rip.
I don't know if it's true. I haven't thought that far. I thought of the imports and exports of the major towns. You want to know their literacy levels now? Jesus. A lot of stuff on here, though, is really nice. I mean, Boots of Elvenkind, Cloak of Elvenkind, this is at 6th level. Cloak of the Manta Ray, Eye of Charming, Gloves of Thievery, Lantern of Revealing. But then you get, Pipes of Haunting, which is one that is just kind of weird. You have to be proficient in wind instruments, for one. But you can create a spellbinding tune, and each creature within 30 feet of you that hears you play must succeed on a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or become frightened of you for a minute. Which, does it say how long it takes an action to do that. So, I mean, it's kind of cool in the sense of, you can cause things to be frightened of you. I could see that being useful in combat. But I don't see why an Artificer would make that.
It's like a spooky recorder, dude.
Playing Hot Cross Buns. Make it stop, please.
Sorry, I just learned this.
It feels like I'm at my son's rehearsal.
I should be a better father. This banjo tree's terrible.
So I mean, there's a lot of options on here. So I feel like that's one that where it's just like it. There's so many things that it just depends on. And at 10th level, I mean, you got 20 options here. So every single time it's just going to be like, what is going to be helpful for me at all? I'm looking at level 14. There's one called Ring of Free Action. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's a ring and you get a free action.
I don't think that's right. So
while you can't be restraining grip.
While you wear this ring, difficult terrain costs you extra movement, or doesn't cost you extra movement. In addition, magic can neither reduce your speed nor cause you to be paralyzed or restrained. It's actually not that great for 14th level.
People go on and on about how freedom of movement, the 4th level spell, is really good, but it's so situational. 9 times out of 10, no one's going to do anything that would affect your movement.
I actually take that back. Not being able to be restrained or paralyzed at 14th level is actually pretty good. Nice. Never mind. I take that back. The rest of it's not that interesting, but that little part at the end is definitely nice.
Or at a 10th, I like the ventilation lungs, which is actually new in the Eberron book. It magically replaces your lungs with mechanical lungs. And then, you get advantage on saving throws against gas-based spells and stuff like that. And you could use your lungs to exhale a gust of wind.
Oh,
they can cast the gust of wind spell with no components.
That's fun.
Oh, thank God. I didn't read the last section. I was really worried.
What's that?
If the attunement to the lungs end, your original lungs reappear.
Yeah. They just poof back.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. It's oh, the Artificer died. I have not very long to live.
Also, another nice line. It says that these magical lungs cannot be suppressed by an anti-magic field. So you don't just suffocate and die.
Oh, the poison gas won't work on us. Anti-magic field. All right, back to the drawing board, boys.
That one is...
Oh, and you could breathe normally in any environment, including a vacuum. I guess I missed it. That's a big thing. So you could use it to breathe underwater. You could, if you go to space in your campaign...
I mean, that Spelljammer is a setting.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Space is still super cold, so you'd need some boots of the Winterlands.
I don't think it's called space in any D&D campaign. It's called the Black Realm or something.
It's something dumb.
Yeah. It's one of those wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We don't understand space.
Yeah, they also kind of go into we don't know how space works, and also it's not really space. It's all made up in magic.
You could also get stuff like the various magic items that boost a stat up to 19.
Yeah,
which is Ogre Strength, the Circlet of Intellect.
One of those is the Hill Giant Strength at 14th level. That one gets you up to 21 Strength.
Which is all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just all right. That's pretty darn good.
I mean, that's...
You just got to tell... You got to tell the fighter in your party to just totally ignore strength. And you'd be like, I swear it's going to pay off when I'm 14. I promise you it's going to pay off when I turn level 14. And then boom, they're up to 21.
Oh, that's actually my least favorite way to min-max is like, all right, we're starting at level 10, everybody gets a rare item, and the fighter's like, I'm going to dump strength
Right.
and then get ogre gauntlets. It's like, no, you're not. You're not doing that.
I could totally think of a way to work that into the backstory, though. They weren't a fighter until they found the ogre gauntlets.
I know.
So, like,
the fact that you worked it in makes me even more angry.
All right, so that again, infusions are going to be extremely important, and there's so many different magical items that you can choose from, and that's what's going to define your character for the most part, as much as subclasses are in this case.
Right.
That we haven't even gotten to talk about yet, because we haven't gotten to level 3.
Well, infusions are a big one.
They are. I don't think there's anything left I have on infusions, though.
Oh, wait. They have, you remember how before we even started recording, I was telling you how much I like the Eberron campaign? Just like campaign setting.
That's
how great
exactly
it is?
what you said. Yeah.
Yes.
You said, I really like the Eberron campaign
There's
setting.
tons of prosthetics that are super freaking cool. And in a totally not cringy way. It's so cool.
Like the arm blade.
The arm blade, yeah.
Well,
That's
it's arm
what I
blade,
saw.
and there's just like prosthetic limbs, which is actually really good flavor.
Did they have
Right.
other, did they have different things that you could do with the prosthetic limbs?
Yeah, you can walk now.
Okay.
You lose your foot, you can walk.
Okay, but
Yeah.
how do you lose your foot in D&D?
It's your backstory, dude.
Right. So you're wasting an infusion now so you can cut off a
Yeah.
limb and then add on a limb.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's super cool.
Is this a roundabout way of you being sarcastic?
Not entirely.
Okay.
I've always thought that prosthetic limbs were baller.
Oh no, I totally agree. And I've had the conversation many times where if there was a working robotic hand, I would cut off my hand in a second and take that.
Yeah. So you could smash cans.
So do whatever. Yeah. Just punch walls and not even feel it.
Oh yeah, like I Am Robot.
Exactly like I Am Robot. Only I just want a little bit of me to be a robot.
That was the only thing I got from that movie. How dope mechanical arms are. Yeah, they have an arcane propulsion arm at 14th level where you get to be a scary robot, but you have to have lost your arm.
Right. And like what happens then if it says you have to have lost your arm. So now that probably doesn't work the same way that the mechanical lungs do, where if you
No,
lose
it doesn't grow back.
No, yeah. So you got to be really okay with just chopping off an arm.
I feel like that's not the intended flavor.
What do you mean?
It's like, oh, level 14. Someone hold my hand. And you're like,
I actually kind of feel like it is. An artificer is going to be that psycho. They're the ones who are continuously tinkering. They're continuously just improving, and then they finally their magnum opus is like, oh, I finally figured out how to make mechanical arms. And look, unattached still, they just shoot it. It propels. You said I assume it takes a ranged attack or something.
so
they show that
Yeah.
off, and then they're just like, all right, now hold my arm still. And the party's like, why are we doing this? And he just whack.
So specifically with the propulsion arm, it deals 1d8 force and melee damage, or it has the thrown property of 20 or 60 feet. And then it comes back to you. And obviously, the intent is to you hold up your arm when
Right.
there's a rocket propelled fist shoots out and hits someone in the face.
Right.
I mean, that's not a true mechanic. It's just still the thrown property. So
Right.
I like the idea. If you just rip your arm off and just throw it.
And it just comes back like a boomerang. Yeah. Oh, but it just sets up for so many awesome puns. Like, don't worry, I'll handle this. And then hand.
1d8 at level 14.
It's not that great.
You
is it?
said you'd handle it. I know, it was just a pun. You guys have to help.
But here's the question.
Looks like he just stepped out of arm's reach.
But here's the real question. Here it is. Can you smite with it?
No.
No, well, it's a magic melee weapon.
Okay.
Which you're proficient. It deals 1d8 force damage.
Okay.
That, if you just
That you
punch
can
someone
smite
with it,
with.
you could probably smite off.
Oh,
of it.
finally.
Okay.
Now you can smite punch.
Great.
The throw,
the monk rules is written can't smite punch, but the artificer he can with his
Well,
technical.
no, the monk can. We just have to chop his arm off. And I hope he stays friends with the artificer forever.
That whole smite punching thing's weird.
Yeah.
Even in the Monk Paladin episode, we said, you could definitely
Yep.
smite off of unarmed attacks. And then there's been some very confusing Jeremy Crawford tweets saying you can't. That
No,
one
he didn't really say that. He said 6 different things.
Yeah,
all
it's
at once.
weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't really matter. Let your Monk Paladin smite punch. It's fine. For
sure. Got enough going
anything.
against
You're breaking literally nothing. It is very weak to do. It's very dumb. They already went down. You know what? This is wrong episode.
Yeah,
Wrong
it's
episode.
fine. It's fine. Yeah. But no, the thrown bit, no, you cannot smite off of that because it's a ranged attack. You can't smite off of ranged attacks.
Okay, same deal though. Like if you set all this up just to make your paladin smite off of a rocket arm, like just give it to him. You know?
Your paladin is like looking at you, it's like, I cut my arm off. It's like, sorry, rules is written. No, you can't uncut your arm off. You did say that you did that.
Right, I'll be the unfun jerk here. Smiting off of a ranged attack feels really fucking broken, especially at 14th level.
What do you mean at 14th level?
That's when this comes into
I'm
play.
saying,
It's a
like,
very
why-
rare magic item.
Right. But like, why is I feel like at 14th level again, things start to get like.
I just mean like at a higher level because you have the spell slots. You can at that point. I think you could do 5th level spells. A 5th level smite
From
which is
30 feet
five,
away.
yeah, 5d8.
Yeah, that's kind of broken.
Yeah, I don't care enough. This is never going to happen. I'm not going to argue
yeah.
about it. If anybody wants to argue about this, go for it. You now have the cannon fodder.
Hey.
Yeah. Arm cannon fodder. All right, so moving on.
Moving on. Alchemist.
No, not there yet.
Let's go through the core ones and then
Core
jump back
class.
to yeah.
At 3rd level, they do start to get their specialist thing. They can go either alchemist, artillerist, or battlesmith. I think we'll talk about those individually.
Right.
But at 3rd level, they get the right tool for the job. This is a 3rd level ribbon ability, which kind of doesn't feel great. In the UA, what they got at 3rd level was their proficiency bonus was doubled for any tools that they're proficient in. That's now a 6th level ability. A big change, but to start talking about right tool for the job, basically the idea is if you spend an hour, you can get a tool that you need. Any artisan tool that you might possibly need, you can make. But at the same time, you can also just buy any artisan tool and never need this again. There is almost no use for this. Artisan tools are
What
not
if
that
you-
expensive.
Yeah, and then you have a bag of holding.
Right? This doesn't make you proficient in it at all. This is literally the I accidentally left the stove on ability, where I forgot to buy the thieves tools, so I guess I'm just gonna make one real quick. The only thing I could see is if your DM makes tools break often, like if you fail real hard, then I guess
Fallout
this is
style,
great.
he's just like, all right, roll. And then he rolls. You're good.
But beyond that, I mean, again, artisan tools just aren't that expensive. You get some that are in the 20 to 30 GP range, but you can just buy them. I don't really like this ability, to be honest. I feel like the only thing that's a saving grace is that you're also getting stuff at 3rd level for the subclass. But admittedly, at 3rd level, the subclasses don't get too great of stuff. But we'll, again, talk about that later.
Yeah, since this is a multi-classing podcast, you do make a good point. We're all the way to 3rd level, and there's not really... You got your infusions, but
Right.
you're not going to get much until now 6th level.
Yeah. No,
And that's
I mean,
awesome.
Fifth is pretty good, but that's a subclass thing. But no, I mean, I totally think this is a hard one to multi-class into, and I think they really took that into consideration because again, at 3rd level before, you were getting what you're now getting at 6th level, that tool expertise, which kind of skipping ahead here, but is starting at 6th level, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. So, I mean, that's a good ability. I don't mind it at 6th level. I feel like that's fine. It's obviously not game-changing in any way. But looking at it through the lens of a multi-class, of getting that at 3rd level is like a really big bonus. I could see you wanting to not dip specifically for that. Of course, you're going to get subclass stuff as well. But that feels worthwhile. If you're dipping for the ability to create an artisan's tool after an hour of thinking about it, you're wasting your time.
Right.
That's not
Yeah.
good.
I don't know. That'd be a valuable skill for like a general contractor.
But even then, once the general contractor owns a toolbox, they're not going to worry about it.
Sure, but you're on the job site and you're like, oh, I forgot my torch
I don't want
wrench.
to go back to Home Depot. I was just there yesterday.
Yeah, it would be useful.
Tamara's such a bitch. That's a BoJack reference. All right, so 4th level is same as always. You get an ability score increase. Nothing special.
Yeah, there's our normal 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, 19th.
Right.
Most other classes.
Right.
Not like fighter or rogue where they get extra.
Nothing too crazy. 7th level, though, I really like this ability. This is Flash of Genius. So starting at 7th level, you gain the ability to come up with solutions under pressure. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an ability check or saving throw, you can use your reaction to add your intelligence modifier to the roll. You can use this feature equal to your intelligence modifier per day. So I like not just the fact that you can add, plus 3, 4, or 5 to a roll based on your int modifier, but I also really like the flavor of it. I feel like there's a lot you could do with that, though it's kind of difficult. So again, the entire idea is that you're using a reaction. That's really the only cost beyond this being tied to the resource of however many you have per day. But just doing something very quick that's going to affect an outcome. So I feel like if you just take this at face value of, using exactly what the rules say, there's not really much flavor to it. It's very boring. Somebody tries lifting a door up. All right, make a strength check. Oh, I'm going to use my Flash of Genius. Okay, you use your Flash of Genius. You add plus 4 to it.
Try opening the door regularly instead of lifting it. Is that where you were going?
I guess I was imagining a door that's like dropping down.
Like a portcullis.
Yeah, whatever. So, I think like what makes it difficult but still fun is like trying to come up as an artificer of your reasoning behind that Flash of Genius, where it's like, oh, you're trying to lift it. Let me give you this tool that I have.
I feel like that's the worst example.
Why is that?
Because it's like this brute thing. It's like where it's the least applicable for.
Okay, but you can still do it. So that's the thing. You have to think of a reason. You don't have to, but you should try thinking of a reason. I guess what I like and dislike about it is that there's no real explanation besides you just think of something clever.
Who here has seen the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes remake?
Nope.
Nobody? Tony Stark.
Oh.
Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Are you saying Guy Ritchie made it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did anyone see that?
Yes.
All right.
Don't watch movies.
Well, they wanted it to be badass and edgy, so he would like get into fights because that's what Sherlock Holmes does. And before the fight, it would like pause, and he'd be like, "All right, now he punches left, and then right, and then I duck, and then knee to the groin," and it would go through a slow mo version of it, and then it'd play out in like 3 seconds after he got done explaining it.
Okay,
and that's how I kind of see this. Is like your brain just makes all the connections. Like, all right, to dodge the fireball, you have to do a sideways backflip.
Right, and that works really well, I think, when you're doing it for yourself. But the fact that you can affect others as well is where it becomes a bit of a sticky wicket.
It's like you just yell the things like really quickly.
Right. Where it's like you see the fireball coming and you just yell, duck! And it's like, is that really a Flash of Genius? Or is that just like...
It's a good idea.
So again, I think it's I like the idea of like having some type of multi-tool that you can just kind of like throw out there. Like, oh, the fireball's coming. Great. I'm going to, throw a wrench, and I hit the fireball before it connects with the barbarian, so that it blows up a few feet away, giving him an extra second or so. I know that's like just.
I was gonna say, if you're going that route with an artificer, it's like I press this button on my utility belt, and this quick shield like flashes up, and it's not powerful enough to stop it, but everyone gets.
That's literally all it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Or like we're trying to lift up the portcullis. It's like, hold on, there's a bunch of shit caught in here.
Right.
Even something as simple as that.
Right,
so you
that's
like, realize
fine.
like, oh yeah, this is all rusted, and let me just clean that real quick.
WD-40, just like yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. That's how I think you need to think about it to some extent. It's just like, and maybe that's on the DM, maybe it's on the player. It's kind of difficult. Might be on both. But if you completely ignore that, then I feel like it robs them of the feeling of it being cool. You're just adding a number, but it's like, why is the number being added? And sometimes I think because you're going to be at a table and you don't want to interrupt the flow, you're not going to stop the game for 10 minutes and think, how can I help with this?
Right. Oh, like our increasingly unfunny bardic cutting words.
What do you mean? Oh, the...
This is very, very similar to bardic inspiration.
You are correct, yeah.
But yeah, every time we did like cutting words to make someone miss their attack,
it's like, oh, you have to say something. You have to like think of
how did you insult? Oh, your mother was a horse. It just gets worse and worse and worse.
That's fair. But it at least added some flavor. And I think this is kind of this same boat where, if you ignore the flavor entirely, it's not going to feel like much more than just adding a number.
But unfortunately, we are not actual geniuses, so
Well,
Kevin would probably be decent at this because he always has like a decent anti-joke for all of his bard things. I'll give him that. He almost always did that.
yeah, it is impressive.
When I was playing bard, I
They're never
did
funny.
that. They were never funny, but I really, really liked that he did it.
Thanks, I think.
The only thing that I will say is part of me, I don't know how I feel about both bits of this being tied to the intelligence modifier. So you're adding your intelligence modifier and you get it equal to a number of times that your intelligence modifier equals. That was horrible phrasing. But if your intelligence modifier is 5, you get to use it 5 times per long rest, and you're adding 5 to the roll. And
That's fine.
It's okay. I just feel like there's some part of me that makes makes intelligence almost the only stat that matters for an artificer. And I feel like I feel like they could make it. There's a lot of classes where like 2 stats can kind of matter. And intelligence, as we've determined before, just isn't a great one to only rely on. There's not a lot of intelligence saving throws. What do you mean?
Because they were like, intelligence was it's just like a dump stat for everybody but a wizard.
Right.
And they're like, all right, now the artificer can also only focus on intelligence.
Okay, so my argument is that there is a happy middle ground where it doesn't need to be all or nothing. And this is I guess, furthering the all or nothing mentality. Where I would rather it be...
So are you saying like it adds your intelligence modifier and you can do it up to your wisdom modifier?
Yeah.
No other class acts like that.
What?
Can you picture
That's
that
not
anywhere?
Not off the top of my head. No, I don't.
Barbarians and monks both have like the tacked on secondary stat. Not for this particular thing.
That's kind of where
and
I was
that's
going
more
with it.
though because they're a martial class and then certain subclasses give them spellcasting abilities, and it wouldn't make sense for the spellcasting ability to be based off of strength, so they make it wisdom.
No. We're talking about like armor, like how they get their AC based on dexterity and wisdom for a monk.
Right.
Or a
Both
barbarian
those
is
classes.
constitution and dexterity.
Yeah, they're mechanically designed to have to do that.
So that's kind of where I'm
But
going with
it's
it.
a physical stat and a mental stat. It would be weird to have them focus on 2 mental stats.
I guess the way that I'm thinking of it is it could be like kind of since it is supposed to be a reaction, it's like very quick. A lot of that comes from your ability to perceive, which is a wisdom-based stat, as well as just like kind of reaction times. A lot of it's intelligence. I'm not arguing that. It's called Flash of Genius, so obviously it's intelligence-based. So it's not like it ruins the class for me, but just part of me just feels like, oh, okay, so intelligence is the only thing that matters for this class, and anything else you're wasting your time. Got it. Intelligence and Constitution.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even the martial subclass replaces your physical stat with intelligence.
Right.
Which is, I like that. I don't
Right.
want to have to focus on any stat but my main stat. That's hard. It makes my brain hurt.
Oh, man.
I like it.
That's all right. So, yeah, that's that one. I like Flash of Genius. I think, I don't know. I think you do bring up a good point, though, where we're not all geniuses. So it's going to be hard to think of something every single time. But it's definitely something to focus on if you can. If you do have like, oh, yeah, I tried pulling something away from the door because there's obviously something stuck in there.
Right.
That's kind of on the DM to give you the autonomy to do those types of things,
Right.
to give your reasoning. And I know that our table is going to be awful about it because you guys would sit there for 20 minutes talking about how dumb it was that they threw a wrench at the fireball instead of just moving on and being like, oh, okay, it was an explanation.
I know, but that is bad.
That's my point. Exactly. It's like you guys are assholes, but I think every other table in the world would be fine. And if you need a DM in the Cleveland area, please just let me know. God help me. 10th level is the Magic Item Adept. So that's, you can attune to a 4th magical item. This differs greatly from the UA, because in the UA it was like you can attune to 3 until level 20, where you can then attune to 6 magic items.
Right.
Which was really silly in my opinion. I like this change a lot. Very, very welcomed. So at 10th level, you can attune to a 4th magic item, and you can now craft a magic item with a rarity of common or uncommon. It takes a quarter of the normal time, and it costs you half as much of the usual gold. And to clarify that, you can craft higher than that. It's just if you want it to take a quarter of the time and cost you half as much gold, it has to be common or uncommon.
Right.
Which that I really like. Because looking at how long it takes you to craft a common or uncommon item, it's not that long. It's totally doable. It's like a couple work weeks or something,
Right.
and like, under a couple thousand gold for uncommon. And since you now have 4 magic item slots and probably a party who doesn't have all of their attunement slots filled out,
Right.
you can start making a lot of stuff here.
Right. And also a lot of the infusions take up an attunement slot.
Right. So you're going to be pretty kitted out.
Right.
And that's where, I mean, it's again, as I mentioned earlier, it's hard for the DM to give you too many magic items, because it's like, well, now if everybody's got their attunement slots filled, the Artificer's is like, well, I don't want to make anything new. I guess I'll make a healing potion. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of one-time use consumable magic items that can be made that don't require attunement.
I think there's a pocket sand.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of potions, gases, liquids, things like that.
I don't know if potions fall under this for taking less time. I guess it says magic item.
Yeah,
and
healing
in
potions.
Xanathar's, potions and all that fall under magic items. So, yeah, no, I think that makes sense. That'd be cool. I like it. It does just bring up crafting as a whole, which I feel like is generally pretty ignored. I don't think I've ever had you guys want to craft items over time or really do any downtime activities.
We don't have any downtime.
Make some.
But we all have like goals and ambitions and
Make some. All right, I will see you in 2 months. I'm skipping D&D to make my magic stuff. If anybody levels up, I'm going to be pissed.
yeah, the crafting stuff's again. We talked about someone recently about it. Seems to go more back to the downtime that's given in like Adventure League,
Right.
where I think Will you mentioned it's like it's almost like is along with getting experience, you get X amount of time of downtime for completing stuff.
You get
that's
experience,
really-
gold, and downtime.
Right, that's where it would really come into play.
So it does say that downtime doesn't have to be continuous. So it's
Right.
more of just like, I mean, how many times have we time skipped because you guys were like, oh, I don't have anything else I want to do the rest of the day?
That's not really time skipping. That's just like going to bed early.
Yeah, and that's time that you could say, I want to work on this magical item. Great, you get half a day towards that item.
Right. So in our current party, who would be able to make magic items?
Oh, I mean, Musty, the druid, has an herbalism kit. He can make potions.
They're
Okay.
just expensive and take forever.
50 gold for a healing potion, a standard one, and it takes 1 work day.
Weak.
No, that one was work
Wait,
day.
the
Yeah.
standard one sucks though.
It does suck, but I'm just saying, I mean, you could have these healing potions, and then
I'll just use good berries.
those are 1 HP.
Yeah.
Okay. So my point exactly is that there are things that you could work towards. If you want to do a greater healing potion, okay, it takes a work week. It takes, I don't know, 500 gold. I don't remember off the top of my head. But there's no reason not to work towards it. You've got downtime.
I feel
And I
like
think-
that was a personal attack. It's like, there's no reason you shouldn't improve yourself, but I don't feel like it. I'd rather just watch TV and drink.
And that's perfectly fine if that's your character. Are we talking about Will or are we talking about Musty?
Both.
Okay.
All my characters are just variations of my personality.
But, I think that there's still a lot that you can look at in the downtime activities. Maybe not everyone in this current party makes sense to be making magic items, especially not at this level. I
Right.
totally agree with you there. But there's other things to look at. Potions, other miscellaneous things. If somebody was like, I want to go carousing with the rest of the half day that I have. Great. Okay, let's pull up the carousing table and make something happen.
I love the carousing table.
It's nice and silly. Depending on the campaign you're doing, I think it makes a ton of sense other than just everyone going, let's just skip. But I mean, that's in your old defense. Maybe that's not what you want to do. And that's okay. If you guys don't want to stop for 2 sessions because somebody had a interesting thing happen, and I say that in air quotes, on the carousing table, and now you all have to deal with it, and you're like, shit, we had a main quest that I wanted to do. As you said, we all have goals. We all have things that we want to accomplish. If that's not what you want to do, that's fine. But, it's still an option.
Right.
I miss the carousing table.
You can still go to it. Just doesn't make any sense for a true neutral Furbolg druid to carouse.
I've met a lot of boring people at parties, man. they still go to parties. It's just nothing interesting ever happens.
Okay, fair enough.
The true neutral carousing table. You have a all right time. You drink a little more than you intended. Your feet hurt.
Somebody talked to you for 15 minutes, asked you how your day was going.
It was going fine.
All right, so at 11th level, you get spell storing item. So this is, you learn how to store a spell in a object. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch one simple or martial weapon or one item that you can use as a spellcasting focus, and you can store a spell in it, choosing a first or second level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires an action to cast.
And now, it does not need to be prepared.
It does not need to be prepared. So I read that entire paragraph because there's a lot to unpack there. It's very specific in what you can and cannot do. First off, you can store it in totally random thing, a simple weapon or a martial weapon, or just a miscellaneous item. You're really not too limited beyond it. Can't be magical already.
No, you're not. You are pretty limited. You have to use the spellcasting focus or a weapon.
Simple martial weapon or a spell.
No, that's separate.
Focus.
Or one item that you can use as a spellcasting focus.
Yes.
Saying that, okay,
it can't be a random item.
Sorry, you're right. I thought you were saying that the sword couldn't be okay, but you can put it in a dagger that sits on somebody's hip.
Yeah, nobody's ever going to be wanting for a thing to put spells in.
Right. The thing that this makes me think of is there was a spell storing crystals that you gave us in Out of the Abyss that are very similar to this, but do have major differences. One of which being the fact that it doesn't take a spell slot to fill this object. It takes a long rest. It does not say you need to cast the spell. Right. It says you take a long rest, and then you touch it, you put the spell in there. Also, you don't need to prepare the spell.
Right.
There was a lot of this weird juggling that happened with those spell storing crystals, where our wizard had it, and she would have to prepare a spell, put it in the crystal, and then unprepare that spell the next day, because she didn't really want Featherfall all the time, but now it's in the crystal, so we're good. Then we'd use Featherfall, and she'd be like, okay, well, I can't fill it back up with Featherfall until tomorrow, and then I have a day where I have to prepare a spell that I don't want.
Yeah,
right. So it was just like really confusing, and something like this would have greatly simplified it, and I'm glad that it does. Beyond that, the major limitation is that it needs to take one action to cast. So, in the example I just gave, that wouldn't work. You can't put Featherfall in there, because Featherfall is a reaction spell. It's only action spells. You get some good options on the Artificer list. I actually made a list of the ones that I liked. 1 second. It's on here somewhere. All right, so some first and second level ones that are probably worthwhile to at least consider. Cure Wounds is one. Fairy Fire that you don't have to focus on. Grease, which I just love for no reason other than being able to cast Grease is fun. One that I thought was interesting is Aid is on the list there. You get a free aid every day, which isn't that great. It's like, especially at this point, 11th level, 5 temp HP to 3 characters isn't game-changing in any way, but it's something to consider at the very least. But better ones, Blur. Blur is on that list. It only takes an action, and now the Artificer doesn't have to hold concentration on it, as well as Invisibility.
Someone does.
Someone does. You are correct. The person casting it has to hold it. Invisibility you can get as well, and then Enlarge and Reduce.
Right.
And Enlarge Reduce is, you can reduce something else's size as well. So if you want to give that to your ranger who's a lot further back, they still have a 30-foot range that they can reduce somebody.
Right.
And then hold the concentration on it.
Right. And the last thing that I think makes this really cool beyond just like the spell jumps, which is a standard magic item that wasn't unique to Out of the Abyss. I didn't make those up or anything.
Right.
This one is when the spell stays in there and you could cast it number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier.
Right.
It's not once and it's gone.
Yeah.
So here's my thought about why that's kind of broken. That's all right. We all concluded you're going to have 20 in almost right out of the gate.
Yeah. It's the only one that matters.
So that's like 10 second level Cure Wounds for free?
10? Is that right?
Twice your intelligence modifier.
Oh.
That's a lot of D8s.
That is a lot of D8s.
Yeah.
That's
20
like
D8. Yeah. 20 D8 plus then. What does Artificer get? Cure Wounds?
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, that's...
And is it plus your intelligence modifier?
Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's
2d8 plus your intelligence modifier. If you cast it at second level.
So 2d8 plus 5.
Yeah.
So 20 times 5 is 100, right? So it's 20 d8. Oh, plus 50. Yeah. You get cast 10 times. 28 d8 plus 50 healing.
That will never be separated from your party until you change your mind on that. All right. It's 11th level.
You could redo it every
It is
day.
11th level. So.
But still, 20 d8 plus 50.
That's a lot.
I can't think of any other spell that would be worthwhile to cast that many times in a day.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's not broken for other spells.
Right, like Blur. Okay, I mean, how many times do you really want to use Blur? You know.
Once a battle?
Right, I mean, you're still using an action, whereas this is like, okay, combat's over. Who's hurt? Oh, no, you're not. Yeah. The paladins lay on hands. Unimportant. You don't need that.
Oh, the paladin's gonna be so pissed. He's gonna like demand the radiant weapon.
Man, I'm not seeing anything that blocks that. Yeah. Number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier, minimum of twice, or until you use this feature again to store a spell in an object. So you can just top it off every day. No reason not to. Fill that thing with cure wounds. You don't even need to prepare cure wounds anymore.
Right.
You just got it. And I mean, you can just toss it to somebody too. Or if you're like, oh man, I'm not going to make it the full 30 feet. I'm going to run, or however far. Run, throw
Catch
it over.
the dagger of healing.
Yeah.
Roll to hit, I guess. Oh, got him.
But if it does like stab into your side, it's like, oh god, that hurts so bad.
It's healing itself.
Grabs onto it and just starts casting cure wounds. It's definitely not great, again, in combat. And maybe there's just things you'd rather have in combat. But I agree, that's actually an absurd amount of healing.
Do they have damage spells? Like decent damage spells?
No.
No, that's what I thought.
There wasn't anything that really caught my eye, to be honest. If at all. I don't know if they had any damage spells that fell under that, because I didn't write them down. And I write down everything.
Melf's acid arrow. If you're a
Is that second level?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't look at the subclass spells.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. That spell's terrible, but it's free.
Right, so the average healing for 20d8 plus 50 is 141 points.
So
the low end is 70 and the high end is 210.
Okay.
Like if you manage to roll all 8.
Right.
Obviously not going to happen, but still.
Artillerist also gets Scorching Ray. So that's like the only competition I can think of.
Right. Where you got
Scorching Ray.
2d6 for Scorching Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get 3 at second level, you get 3 bolts. Each one is 2d6. So if all of them hit, that's 6d6.
Right.
And then you do that 10 times.
Yeah. That's
right.
Yeah. Yep. That works out.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of individual attack rolls. Though.
Correct. But if you're using that for yourself, you now don't need to prepare Scorching Ray, and you get 10 uses a day. That's a cantrip that you're using Scorching Ray. I actually don't like that. That doesn't sound good at all. I thought it was just equal to your intelligence modifier, which would kind of cut that in half.
Right.
What is the benefit of making that so frequent? Or so many? Well,
to the Twitter sphere. Let's go harass Jeremy Crawford.
Is it already Sunday? All right, so at 14th level, they get Magic Item Savant. Kind of just an extension of the 10th level ability. They can now attune up to 5 magic items at once, but they also can ignore all class, race, spell, and level requirements on attuning to or using a magic item. So those like 3% of items that would be blocked out from them are no longer blocked.
There's a decent amount of magic items that have class requirements.
Okay.
That I'll see a lot of.
That actually coming into that. If you look at the DMG, obviously it was written before the Artificer. I wonder if that would be any changes to that would. I don't know. This is kind of an out, but it's kind of a late one.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever considered making. You know what? Actually, the item I gave you might be Druid specific. I don't remember if I class locked that. But I mean, I don't know. I just don't care that much. I don't think many times it breaks the game in any way to let a item be used on a different class. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd need to see some of these examples because honestly, I'm not familiar with them.
Everything wizardy, like the rods and stuff like that, are wizard, sorcerer, warlock.
Okay, you don't want like a barbarian taking them over.
The barbarian now has bonus to his spellcasting.
Yeah, that does seem kind of silly.
The class restrictions are almost purely flavor.
Right. I don't know any level restricted magic items.
Yeah, that doesn't ring a bell.
Me either.
The level restrictions on the DM. You make those decisions.
Right, exactly. It's like if I want this to be level locked, I'm not giving it to you.
Right, it's locked in my mind.
But I mean, again, if there are some, or if it's something that they're thinking about adding, great. I guess I'm glad that they, were more clear on the description now than having to, talk about it later, and then you got to ask Jeremy Crawford, are they supposed to be restricted from this one item that has a level 18 requirement? And he's like, well, no, not as intended, but, we make mistakes because we're human. And then, people go on podcasts and yell about it. Anyways, at 18th level, it's more of the same. You can now attune up to 6 magic items at once. No other change, no additional ribbon to that one. And then 20th level, Soul of Artifice. You now can develop a mystical connection with your magic items that you can draw on for protection. These are both great. This is actually a fantastic capstone.
Specifically for the Artificer.
Yeah.
This could technically be picked up and put on literally any other class because it doesn't build on a class feature, but it would be terrible on any other class except the Artificer.
Or at least mediocre, yeah. But so the first part is you gain a +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you are currently attuned to. And at this point, it's going to be 6. You are attuned to 6 magic items.
Right, yeah.
So now you get +6 on top of your intelligence and constitution saving throws that already are using your proficiency bonus. Those pluses are going to be absurd. What's the proficiency bonus max out at? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
Oh, I have it right up here.
6.
Yeah.
6. Okay, so 6 to that, 5 from your intelligence modifiers plus 11, plus 6 for the ones you're attuned to.
Right.
You now get plus 17 to your constitution modifier and to your intelligence modifier.
Right.
If that doesn't scream level 20, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
You're not dropping concentration for a very long time.
No.
You would have to roll very, very poorly. It's just not going to happen. And then there's still more to it.
Yeah, actually, real quick,
go ahead.
at 20th level, also, then you have 12 infusions known and can do it 6 times.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be very easy to get yourself attuned to 6 magic items.
And
also all the downtime that you would have getting to 20 to make your own items. Also, the ridiculous amounts of money a level 20 character have to buy them. There should be no issue in getting yourself attuned to 6 magic items.
Right. It would only be like in one of my campaigns where that's something difficult to get to.
Such a jerk.
No, that's obviously a joke, but we'll never get to level 20 because nobody wants to play that. Anyways, the next part is if you're reduced to 0 HP but not killed outright, which only happens in a few instances, you can use your reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions, causing you to drop to 1 HP instead of 0. And since you can now infuse 6 items, you can basically take 6 additional hits and not die. Like after you're basically at 0. The only thing is, again, if you're out of reactions or if it's going to kill you outright, which would mean it does, twice your entire max HP in damage again, which at level 20 is going to be pretty tough. Or if it's something like a disintegrate, power word kill, or any of those. So it's not like a end all be all, you can't die, but it makes it very, very tough just to end an infusion, which, you get them back at the next long rest. Who cares? Better than dying. The only thing that would really suck is if for some reason you already used your reaction this turn and you took like an unexpected amount of damage and you're like, oh, I have this thing. I can finally use this thing. And it's like, oh, nope, sorry. You used your reaction.
Use my opportunity attack to whack him with my wrench. 1d4 improvised damage.
Oh, and I missed too.
Yeah, maybe that's something you got to be conscious of. But, if you have played this character from level 1 to 20, I won't tell you how to play it.
You know what sucked?
You figure that out. What's
that?
that?
You used shield and it didn't work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would suck.
Oh, that would hurt.
I think only one of the subclasses gets shield, but we'll talk about that in a second. That's the entirety of the core features. Anything else about that 20th level feature, it's pretty good, but it's also very straightforward.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's all right. What's better?
Right. What's better?
Yeah, plus 40 your strength and plus 40 your constitution.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that is really good.
That's incredible.
Also, the Druids.
The Druid one's just broken.
Yep.
It's literally 120-something health every single round in perpetuity.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Fourth attack.
Fourth attack's really...
For fighter.
Is that their 20th level ability?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure that's capstone.
That sounds right.
So, those 3.
Okay, yeah, there's some other good ones. But I'd say that this competes at the very least.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's not terrible. It's not like the Ranger where it's like, oh, that sucks.
1d8 damage per turn? Wow, good job,
Isn't
Ranger.
It just a wisdom modifier?
Yeah, it's just wisdom modifier. Not even every attack. It's once
to
per
your
turn.
favorite enemies.
Jesus Christ.
I'm pretty sure.
Who? Oh, okay.
Who wrote that?
Deep breaths, Jared. Deep breaths.
What would define someone as the most legendary ranger in the realm? Oh, yeah, wisdom to the favorite enemies. Definitely that. 100% that.
Yes, you become an unparalleled hunter of your enemies once on each of your turns. You can add your wisdom modifier to the attack roll or the damage roll of an attack you make against one of your favorite enemies.
Unparalleled!
One of the paladin subclasses can fly at 20th level.
Right.
Just like straight up. Oh man, that's okay.
Oh, yeah, some of the paladin capstones are really cool. Those ones are split between the subclasses.
Yeah.
I think the vengeance ones. Yeah, that's the vengeance one. You can fly. You become like an angel of death. And you fly around the battlefield and you're like resistant to almost all damage types.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's only once per day.
But you could choose to use this feature before or after the roll. But before any effects of the roll are applied.
Oh, yeah. Good.
No.
I'd hate for it to be unbalanced.
Right.
Unparalleled.
Extra 5 damage around per turn. Yeah.
God, you get more out of just a single level dip into a fighter. That's pathetic. All right.
It was not the ranger one.
No, it's not.
When we do ranger artifice, we could talk about this again.
Yes. Yeah. About how smart it is to dip out of the ranger.
For your useless one level in our
I actually would take that. The tinkering.
bucket.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. I can tinker and now interact with some objects. I can make some magical light, bright light. It's like, oh, you're not going to get level 20 in ranger. Yeah, it's fine.
Better
It's
this
cool.
way.
It's fine. I don't even know why I have 13 in. All right. So that is the core class. On to our 3 Artificer specialists. The ones we've got are Alchemist, Artillerist, and Battlesmith. So I'm starting from the top here with Alchemist. So the entire idea around this is that they are they're a potion maker. They're an alchemist. At 3rd level, when they get this, they get proficiency with alchemist supplies if they don't already have it, which would be very odd flavor-wise if you didn't. But luckily, and this is different from the UA, if you already have proficiency, you gain proficiency with one other artisan's tool of your choice.
Man, you made a huge deal about that. They must have listened to you.
They must have. They're like, oh man, this Monsters and Multiclass is tearing us apart. It was
I
dumb.
don't even think that was on air. I think that was in our chat.
Oh,
Yeah, it was definitely in our chat. You were just
Yeah.
bitching about the monk's brewery's tools or some shit.
I think it was for the Artificer too. Because the Artificer, you get tool proficiency. I think that's anytime that it says you get proficiency in this thing, that's your
you already have
subclass.
it, you
It's
just
like,
get a different one.
why would you not have that? It's dumb not to. So yeah, this is perfect. It's clarified. You just choose one other artisan's tool. And I don't care about the flavor reasons. I am satiated. So they do get some always prepared spells, like most half-casters, except for Rangers. Rangers pre-Xanathars. But they get, at 3rd level, Healing Word and Ray of Sickness. 5th level, Flaming Sphere and Melf's Acid Arrow. 9th is Gaseous Form and Mass Healing Word. 13th, Blight and Death Ward. And then 17th is Cloud Kill and Raise Dead. I think all of those make a ton of sense flavor-wise, except for Raise Dead. I don't dislike it. I just don't know how it really crosses over with an alchemist.
An alchemist stone, man.
A what?
An alchemist stone.
Oh.
It's like, ooh, duh. I don't know.
Or some sort of life restoring potion.
I guess.
But it doesn't.
But it's just, it's raising the dead. Is that the one?
That's resurrection.
Oh, that's the resurrection one.
Yeah.
no,
okay.
animate that, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's-
animates the necromancy one. Well, this is still necromancy, but yeah, this reses the character.
You are totally correct. That makes a lot more sense. Animate dead or any variation on that would be kind of weird to just like, oh, I make a zombie companion. This one perfectly makes sense. It's a life elixir.
That's how they made the
like
zombies
that.
in Resident Evil, though. They used like potions.
Was it?
Uh,
I thought they used umbrellas.
no, that was the corporation. They obviously didn't make umbrellas.
Why were they called Umbrella Corporation if they didn't make umbrellas?
How did they turn them into zombies?
Like original Resident Evil.
Yeah. I think it
I
was
don't
like they
know.
were
I've
like
never
an
played
evil
that.
chemical company. Like, oh, look at this glowing elixir that turns you into zombies.
Wasn't it just like supposed to be a bioweapon?
Yeah, that's what it is. That's why
yeah.
it's called biohazard.
Oh yeah,
So there you go.
there. Yeah,
That's how you justify zombies. But you can't actually do that.
but you're not. You don't need to justify zombies because it's not in the class. So their other thing at 3rd level, or I guess their really big subclass feature, is their experimental elixir. A lot to read here, but I'm going to do it anyways. So as an action, What's that?
Don't read the entirety of it. Just
I
summarize.
was going to. I was going to.
You just said I'm going to read it anyways.
I didn't say I'm going to read every single word.
They said there's a lot to read here, but we're going to read it anyways.
Welcome to
could've
Monsters
finished
and
one now.
Multiclass. We're just going to read you the class. You get to listen to our soothing voices. We're not going to explain anything. That's on to you. We don't want to insult our listeners' intelligence. So experimental elixir, to summarize, they make a random potion once per long rest. This class feature does go up to 2 of these random potions at 6th level, 3 at 15th, and each time you have to roll on a table. The table I will go through one by one. There are 6 different options. One is healing. The drinker regains a number of HP equal to 2d4 plus your intelligence modifier. Swiftness, the drinker's walking speed increases by 10 feet for 1 hour. Resilience, the drinker gains a +1 bonus to AC for 10 minutes. Boldness, the drinker can roll a d4 and add the number to a rolled attack or saving throw for the next minute. Sorry, to every one, not just one. 5, the drinker gains a flying speed of 10 feet for 10 minutes. And transformation, the drinker's body is transformed as if by the alter self spell. The drinker determines the transformation caused by the spell, of which the effect lasts for 10 minutes. So you do know what the effect is before you drink
No,
it.
you don't.
Yeah, you do.
Nope. You roll when you drink it.
What?
That's what it says.
Where does it say that? Because I read
just
the exact
looking at it.
opposite. Roll in the... Oh, wait, what? How did I misread that? You're totally right.
Yeah.
Roll in the experimental elixir table. If only we read the entire paragraph first. In the very first paragraph, it says, roll on the experimental elixir table for the elixir's effect, which is triggered when someone drinks the elixir.
No.
So that doesn't mean
Actually,
that
that's really, ambiguous.
you roll on it and then it's triggered when somebody drinks it. I think you know what it is
Oh.
beforehand.
That makes more sense. I was going to say, I thought
It's
this was
just a
really,
really-
really dumb with my interpretation. It's like,
Really
what? This
bad
is
way to
like,
do
I don't
this.
want this.
Yeah, that would have ruined it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I really need healing. I really need healing. All right, here, just take one of these.
Boldness.
Oh God, why am I flying?
Flying incredibly slowly.
Okay, so that makes more sense. You know what it is at the start of the long rest. You can also make more of these by expending a first level spell slot, and it just takes an action to do so. Yeah, that's where I thought it was before. It says, and you choose the elixir's effect from the experimental elixir table. So yeah, you choose it right
I
away.
missed that part too. Okay.
And that's why we read the
That's
paragraphs,
better.
Kevin.
Yes.
That would have been frustrating.
So, I mean, I don't know how I feel about this.
It's all right.
If I'm being honest, I think it's pretty mediocre. And looking at everything else they get at 3rd level, I think it's all pretty mediocre. The only saving grace is that at 3rd level, they get 2nd level spells. So they're getting a random effect that they have to then use a spell slot on to get more of. Sure, at 6th and 15th level, you're getting 2 and 3 of them. As you level up later on, I think some of these increase in potency. But, I mean, is it really that great to just have one of these random ones? Does it feel like you're really determining much? Or does it feel like your day can kind of suck by getting a transformation and then you have to spend a spell slot to re-roll it and get a new one?
Transformation's not that bad.
Is it that good?
No.
Is it a defining class feature that you want to be able to cast transformation once per day for free?
You can turn into a fish monster.
It has its benefits.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit if you specifically need to turn into a fish monster. 3
Right,
times
but
a
what
day.
if you start that morning and you're like, I really need a transformation, and they roll flight?
Spell slots, man.
Yeah, now you're wasting spell
spell
slots
slots.
just hoping to get the one that you need. I don't know if I like the fact that it's
No,
random.
if you use the spell slot, you can pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and you choose it.
Which makes
Yeah.
sense because that'd be really, really annoying.
So you get one for free,
Okay.
what's random, then you can spend a spell slot at first to hire to then create whichever you want.
I
That's
like
better.
that
That's better. Okay.
because
Sorry, this
it
is a
gives you
complicated
free
one.
thing. It's just like, here's your free thing.
Right.
You don't know what it is. I like rolling random stuff.
That's fair. I think that's okay, and I think it also, to some maybe small extent, can determine your, I don't know, a play style for the day that might be extreme, but it could definitely change how you go about a specific interaction. Where today you got the flight one for free, and you face some obstacle, and you're like, hey, it would actually be really useful if you could just fly over this. Hey, use my potion instead of us, casting fly or trying to do anything else. And there is that level of randomness to it that I appreciate. Boldness is like it's a free bless without concentration. So that one's just good. I don't have any issues with that. I don't know. I mean, they're I think I feel a lot better now that we talked about it.
Glad we talked through this.
Randomness on the first one, okay, that's fine. Randomness on the second one, that sucks.
Yeah.
And there isn't it.
These abilities, they're kind of on par of what you would get out of a first level spell.
Yeah,
2d4
that's fair.
plus intelligence modifier for healing.
The benefit is that you don't have to concentrate on any of this.
Right. Increased movement, +1 bonus to AC, very slow flying speed. I mean, fly is a 3rd level spell.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. The first level, you get 10 feet. For
It's
10
not
minutes.
a combat fly, that's for sure.
No.
Unless you just need to get in a tree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could get uses or.
It's more that it takes an entire action to drink the potion.
Right.
That makes it difficult. I mean, just like kind of hard to justify, but you still can. I'm not saying you couldn't justify it. It just depends.
Yeah. I mean, boldness is basically just a quick bless. Or no, it's just bless.
It's just bless.
It's bless on one person instead of 3.
Right.
So, I mean, it is different, but again, it's blessed without concentration too.
Right.
I really like boldness. Boldness is very good.
Yeah, I'm glad we did. Even though I was giving you a shit time, look at this in more detail. I completely misinterpreted it. We both misinterpreted something on it. Yeah, I thought you didn't know what it was until you drank it, which is really flavorful with how it's like read out.
Unless you don't like the
elixir.
flavor.
Oh, that's no.
But yeah, that would make it really, really hard to justify ever really using.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
who would you give it to? Just like you have to pick at random. It's like, I don't know, the wizard gets it today.
right.
What's he gonna get?
And you can also drink it yourself, which you probably wouldn't. As you mentioned earlier, it's like not your best move really ever as an artificer is to like give yourself everything. This falls in line too. I don't really care if I'm blessed. I care if the fighter's blessed or has boldness. I care if the barbarian has a +1 to AC. Well, maybe not. Depends. Whoever's up in it. So, I mean, that's,
Right.
It determines who you give it to each day, that's for sure. I'm very glad you know it beforehand.
Right. Yeah, and it definitely benefits from some planning because like I could kind of see like in combat and wanting that like clutch healing. So all right, I'm gonna use my first level spell to create this healing elixir and then drink it, and that's gonna be 2 full actions.
Right. So,
You
I mean,
wanna kinda
you
plan
also
out,
will
yeah.
have cure wounds in your spell storing thing.
That's
Not
true,
at 3rd
yeah.
level, but if you do have that 11th level spell storing, you've got your dagger of cure wounds. That's got 100 and something healing in it.
You have to flavor that. Like you like stab someone in the chest and it just erupts in healing energy.
But it still does the 1d4
I know,
plus
yeah.
text.
Who gives a shit?
And it still only cast 1 cure wounds at a time.
Right.
So it's still not that.
No, yeah. But
not
if you
more
leave it in there,
balanced.
it's like, oh, no, don't take it out. Don't take it out. I got to heal you next round. It's just going to hurt more.
But then it's like your healing handle. Yeah, you stab it in there. You take your 1d4 plus dex. And then every round, they just need to grab it and like wiggle it a bit and get the healing out.
Oh, fuck. That heals so good.
And some really ridiculous over the top clutch story moment might maybe give them the ability to just unleash all of them at once.
Shit, no, we put Scorching Ray in that today. Oh, my insides.
He wouldn't be saying that. He'd be dead.
Yeah, no, I think any spell that is cast literally inside of your body should be an auto crit.
That's a hot take right there.
It would be 120 d6.
We don't know if you're dead, man. Let me just roll it. Oh no, you're definitely dead.
What's your max HP? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Double dead. All right. So 5th level, they get Alchemical Savant. So for comparison, in the previous UA, at 5th level, all Artificers got the extra attack. So they did switch it up where now...
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
120 d6 averages about 420 damage.
They might all be ones. They might all be
could
ones.
literally all be one.
I would say, 120 damage or 720.
Kevin, what are the chances of it all being ones?
Don't do that math. That's not what we're here for.
According to
very low.
anydice.com, it just rounds it down to 0.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't go in enough decimal places.
I think it's
for
like
that.
120 factorial. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember math, man.
So,
Anyways.
at 5th level, they do get something. They don't get an extra attack. They basically get something that makes their spell casting a little bit more potent. So any roll they make that restores HP or deals acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage gets the bonus of their intelligence modifier. So that does work on cantrips. It doesn't say it has to be a leveled spell. So their cantrips become a little bit stronger. I think that acid, fire, necrotic, and poison damage are probably going to cover your bases for cantrips. At the very least, Firebolt. I don't know what else you're going to try and do.
Acid Splash.
Acid Splash, yeah. So,
Chill Touch.
Chill Touch is necrotic.
Yeah.
God damn it, every time. And it's also not a touch spell. Every time. And then healing as well.
There was a video about it.
The reasoning behind it?
No, I'm making fun of it.
Oh,
Z
okay.
Bradshaw, he does like the anime spellbook. I might be saying the name wrong, but he very recently had a video about the worst name cantrip ever. Touch. Yeah.
Right. I think he just heard us yelling about it. Everyone just steals from us because we're so humble. So, yeah, I like this over just giving an extra attack. I think it makes the Artificer feel a little bit more defined, and instead of it just being another martial character. Looking at the previous UA, it really felt like you're a martial character who is a half caster, just like every other half caster, and also you can infuse some magic items with some stuff. There are also, each of the subclasses had a focus on, like the alchemist could make potions easier. It cost them less time and money. The archivist could make spell scrolls easier. There was the wand one that did the same thing with wands.
Sucked.
And they pulled away from that, and I'm glad
Right.
because I really I wasn't getting much out of those. They were kind of cool, but it felt like they didn't reflect how people actually played D&D. It was more of like a, wouldn't this be cool, guys? And really trying to force that crafting idea.
Real quick, because it's going to bug me because I was super wrong on his name and I feel bad. I don't know why I said Bradshaw. It was Bashu.
Z Bashu?
Bashew. I don't know.
That's it? Just Bashu?
Bashu. I don't know how to say
Okay.
it. I feel bad because we were kind of... I threw his like video out there.
So yeah, I mean, again, I think this really differentiates them from a martial class and makes it feel like they don't have to play as a martial character. And even more, in the UA before, it had this like really weird tacked on part where it's like you can get an extra attack if you use a magic weapon. So it's like it was more of a feature gate than anything, where it's saying you have to use one of your infusions on a magic item for yourself in order to get the second attack. And if you don't do that, you are completely wasting this 5th level ability. Where this one feels very in line with the subclass. It's not forcing you to be a martial character as well, which I appreciate. And I don't know if I love the fact that it is limited to acid, fire, necrotic, or poison. I'm not getting much from that. I feel like they could add cold on there. They could add lightning on there.
How do you make a lightning potion?
How do you make a poison potion?
Are you serious? That's like the default form of poison.
No, I'm not serious at all.
That makes sense because they're like acid, fire. That's like all things you could make in the real world.
How do you make a fire potion?
You put gasoline in a wine bottle.
Oh, but then you gotta light it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
With
you're
your
not
magic
making
lighter
fire.
hands, and then you throw it. That's the justification. The necrotic one is actually kind of a stretch.
Yeah, I'm really not against it by any means. I don't think it says your Artificer spells, just when you cast using your alchemist supplies as the spellcasting focus. So if you were to multiclass into a cleric and use Toll the Dead, can you use your alchemist supplies as the spellcasting focus, or does it have to be a cleric focus, which would negate this? No quick answer.
Does it matter?
Ask that again.
So, all right. It specifically states that when you cast a spell using your alchemist supplies as the spellcasting focus, you can gain a bonus to one roll of the spell. One of the damage types is necrotic. Artificers don't get Toll the Dead, but clerics do. If you multiclass into a cleric, can you add your intelligence modifier? Can you cast Toll the Dead with your alchemist supplies?
I don't think so, no.
That's what I would think as well.
Yeah, because every time you look at spellcasting focuses, it's saying you could cast cleric spells with this focus. You could cast druid spells with the druid focus. It's not all.
We've never
spells
talked
that
about that, but if you multiclass into multiple classes, you have to carry around like a bag of focuses.
Or a component pouch.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way now.
Component pouch.
Yeah, it depends. But it doesn't really come up that much. Yeah. As long as you got a free hand, you got a free hand.
That's only clerics, druids are the ones with the unique ones. Everybody else just uses
Wizards like, oh, I've got a stick or I've got a crystal that I found.
No, you got to get an expensive stick though.
It's an expensive stick. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I like that. Again, I think it beefs up their cantrips just a little bit without being crazy by any means. At 5th level, you'll probably have a +4 to your intelligence if you're playing a normal point buy or standard array.
Right.
So, yeah, you're getting 2d8 or 2d10 plus 4. Yeah, I mean, that lines up with like a warlock, right? They get that around for their Eldritch Blast around
but
then.
it's every single one.
It is every single one, so shocker.
Warlocks are just objectively better than all other classes. So.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, that didn't change with this guy.
9th level, they get restorative reagents. So with that, whenever a creature drinks an experimental elixir, they gain temp HP equal to 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier. Okay, I'll take that for free. I mean, they get temp HP on top. That's pretty good temp HP. By 9th level, it'll probably be plus 5. So 2d6, so it's 3, 6 plus 5, 11 temp HP on average. Okay, yeah, I'll take it. And then you can cast Lesser Restoration without expending a spell slot and without preparing the spell. Provided you use Alchemist Supplies as the spellcasting focus, you can do so equal to a number of times of your intelligence modifier, and you regain it on a long rest.
Great.
Lesser Restoration? Yeah, I'll take it.
Right.
It's
a free Lesser Restoration at this point, probably 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also important to note, at 9th level, you're getting 3rd level spells. So usually those are like times where they hold off from giving you too crazy of stuff.
Right.
And I think this is one of those times. It's nothing game-changing by any means. I don't think you're going to need 5 Lesser Restorations in a day too often.
No.
But you've got it, and you don't have to use a spell slot on it.
Right.
So now your cleric doesn't have to prepare Lesser Restoration, or whoever else doesn't have to prepare it. You've got it covered. You've got the Lesser Restorations that anyone will ever need. 15th is Chemical Mastery. You've been exposed to so many chemicals that they pose little risk to you, and you can use them quickly and certain ailments.
I feel like that idea of it, I mean, obviously it's a fantasy game and it is so over the top fantasy.
Right.
You've spent so much time exposed to these harmful, terrible chemicals, you become more resilient. In the real world, you would just be dying.
Mithridatism is a real thing, Kevin.
What's that?
Mithridatism.
What's that?
Yeah.
King Mithridates, from what I don't know, I wasn't there, but he was like really like, oh shit, people keep trying to poison me. So he like drank poison every day for years and years. And when somebody finally did try to poison him, it was like, I drink that for coffee. And it kind of doesn't work. There are like a handful of snake bites that if you get bit by the snake enough, it stops mattering, I think. I don't know.
I mean, I get the concept.
But it is a made up, overplayed thing that you can't actually do in real life and should not attempt.
No. I think that the flavor behind it is kind of lame if you've been exposed to so many chemicals. I feel like your experience with those chemicals teaches you how to best avoid them.
No, he's a wacky scientist with crazy pointy hair and explosions happen. That's the flavor every night. Everyone has trouble sleeping because he's like, oh, eureka! Oh no! So he walks in with the burnt face thing.
Right.
That joke's hilarious.
Hair is still smoking, and he's got the fire, and he puts out the one piece.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the flavor of it is dumb, but I think the concept of it is fine. You gain resistance to acid damage and poison damage, and you're immune to the poison condition. I mean, so is a dwarf, at their start. I don't know if a 15th level ability is... I don't know. I don't think it's great.
But the next
part, yeah, there's more. You can cast Greater Restoration and Heal without expending a spell slot, without preparing the spell, and without material components, provided you use Alchemist Supplies as the spellcasting focus.
And that's equal to your intelligence modifier, right?
No. Once you cast either spell with this feature, you can't cast this again
okay.
until you finish a long rest.
But still, those are huge. Greater Restoration is an amazing spell. Comes up all the time at higher levels.
So is Heal.
And then, Heal, it's 70 points of healing.
Yeah.
Divided amongst
however you want.
30 feet of you or something like that. 60 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I'm not going to argue that at all. You get a free 6th level spell. Is Greater Restoration 5th?
Yeah.
Okay, so Greater Restoration is 5th, Heal is 6th. Are you going to need that when you've got unlimited Cure Wounds? Maybe not.
If they turn into stone, yes.
The Greater Restoration for sure.
Yeah. It's free heal, man.
It's free.
It's literally free.
You can do it in
15th
combat,
level, though. But at 15th level, I feel like... I don't know. I feel like other
one
people
action for 70 points of healing divided up however the hell you want.
It's not bad by any means. And more importantly, I think, is that they don't get 6th level spells ever, right? because they're a half caster, so they cap out at 5th level.
I think so, yeah. I guess we have the means to look it up super quick.
When I say these things, I just expect someone else to do it. We really need like somebody just sitting next to us who just fact checks us.
Yeah, they cap out at 5th.
Isn't that a thing on like the Joe Rogan show?
Yeah.
He just like
Jamie, pull that up.
yeah, there you go. Can we hire somebody to do that? Can we fit that into our budget?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. All right, so yeah, they cap out at 5th level for spells. So that is nice. They get a 6th level spell for free. It's not bad by any means. I guess I'm just not blown away by any of these individually for the Alchemist subclass. It feels like every single one of them is like a really minor thing that it's like, oh, that's nice. That's kind of nice.
But I mean, it kind of feels like the entire class is built around not your subclass, but more like the core stuff.
No, I totally think
that's
you're right.
like
The
the
invocations, I think the whatever other magic items you make and attune to, those are going to be like your real core features. And then the subclasses are just kind of like an extra sprinkle of like, okay, you're an alchemist. Or, you know,
Yeah, they kind of push you in one play style. So I feel like the Alchemist at its core is already a support class.
Correct.
And then the Alchemist is the support subclass of the support class.
So you said the Artificer is a support class, is what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Alchemist is the support subclass of the support class of the Artificer.
That makes sense.
So just kind of doubling down.
Yeah.
Actually, looking through it though, and especially now having the right interpretation on experimental elixir, I'm like actually kind of like would be excited to play this. I was thinking like, all right, next time I make a character, I might make an Alchemist. It just kind of sounds neat to kind of have your bag of tricks up your sleeve, kind of something for every situation, that sort of stuff. Be a really great support character to have around.
I guess my question is do they have something for every situation?
No, they have something for 8 specific situations.
6.
Wait,
The
really?
experimental elixir is a D6 roll.
Oh, son
yeah,
of a
that
bitch.
then that with the infusions and the magic items,
Right,
And all
right,
that other
right.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be bad. I guess I'm just not blown away by it. But I mean, if you're interested in it, I guess that's okay.
I liked it until Kevin said something like that. Now I think it's dumb.
No, I mean it's fine. It is. And I think that the really core features of the Artificer are so strong that anything you give as the subclass is, as you said, going to put them into a specific play style. This is the support, whereas the Battlesmith that's going to be more of like the damage and I guess you have some support from your
defender.
Right.
They get the steel defender, which
Right.
we'll get to. But yeah, and then the artillerist, which the ranged damage dealer.
right. I mean,
Which we can-
anything else around the Alchemist though before we move on to the next one?
No, this is quickly turning into our longest episode ever. So let's keep.
There's a lot to go over.
Yeah, we're at 2 hours and 16 minutes on the current recorded time. There was some bullshit at the beginning. I'm going to cut out in the break, but
There's always some bullshit.
I think it's going to end up being well over 2 hours.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So, Artillerist. Start off with the tool proficiency at 3rd level. You gain proficiency in woodcarver's tools. Every Boy Scout's dream. If you already have this proficiency, you gain proficiency with one other artisan's tool of your choice. They do get some spells as usual. These ones are much more battle focused. I think everyone is evocation besides shield. So you get shield at 3rd level and Thunderwave. At 5th level, you get Scorching Ray and Shatter. 9th level, you get Fireball and Wind Wall. 13th, Ice Storm and Wall of Fire. 17th, Cone of Cold and Wall of Force. So obviously, it's going for the more damage-dealing spellcaster
Right.
in comparison to the Alchemist, which was, as you mentioned, more of a support one.
And yeah, they're the artillerist.
Right. It only makes sense.
They make the artillery for battlefields. Yes, the arranged blasters.
I can't comprehend this. So their thing is that they can make an Eldritch Cannon. So I'm not going to read it all, but let's make sure we're understanding this correctly. So they can use their woodcarver's tools, take an action, and magically create a small or tiny Eldritch Cannon in an unoccupied space on a horizontal surface within 5 feet of you. So no putting it on the ceiling? Or I guess it doesn't say you can't put it on the ceiling?
The ceiling's horizontal.
ceiling's
You can't put it on
horizontal.
It has a
walls.
climb
Yeah.
speed, I'm pretty sure. They can move
Yeah,
X number
remember?
of feet. Yeah, and it has a climb
We
speed.
already talked about this, how it was like actually supposed to be a spider.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really cool. Sweet. So make it on the ceiling. Small Eldritch Cannon.
Walk or climb up to 15 feet to an automatic. Yeah. anyways.
Nice. Okay. So it occupies a space. If it's small, if it's tiny, you can hold it in your hand, which
Kind of neat.
kind of neat. Yeah, It's weird and gets even weirder once we start looking at what it can do. Once you create the cannon, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest or until you expend a spell slot of first level or higher. You can have only one cannon at a time and can't create one while your cannon is present. Cannon is a magical object. Regardless of size, it's got an AC of 18, hit points equal to 5 times your Artificer level, so starts at 15 at 3rd level, just goes up from there. Immune to poison damage, psychic damage, and all conditions. If it makes an ability check or saving throw, takes a 10, or I'm sorry, that's
Treats
not right
all
at all.
scores as a 10 plus
Thank
0.
you. If the mending spell is cast on it, it regains 2d6 HP. It disappears if it is reduced to 0 HP or after 1 hour. You can dismiss it early as an action. I think that's really important to note. It's not going to be out all the time. It lasts an hour, so you have to think about when you're going to use this thing, because you only get 1 free per day. So it's here, when you create the cannon, you can determine its appearance and whether it has legs. You can also decide which type it is, changing from the options in the Eldritch Cannon table. On your turn, you can take a bonus action to activate it if you're within 60 feet, and as part of that same action, you can direct it to walk or climb up to 15 feet, provided it has legs. So 3 options you have are a flamethrower, a force ballista, and the protector. Flamethrower, pretty straightforward. It shoots out a 15-foot cone in front of it of fire. Everything makes a dexterity saving throw that's in that range and takes
Against
2d8
the
fire
Artificer
damage.
spell DC.
That is important. Yeah, against the Artificer spell save DC, which is intelligence. On a failed save, they take half as much. Or I'm sorry, they take full damage. On a successful one, they take half as much.
2d8. I don't know if you said that, but yeah.
And the fire ignites any flammable objects in the area. Cool. It's a flamethrower.
Yeah.
I like it.
2d8 damage. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. The only issue is that it has to get pretty close to things, and it's not super squishy by any means. It scales pretty well health-wise. 5 HP for your Artificer level is good. Right. And again, 18 AC. Mm-hmm. I like it. It's not bad.
15 feet of movement.
But if I have a little cannon thing in front of me and it's spewing flames every single turn, I'm probably going to want to destroy that thing.
Right. So then you can look at it as, so you get a few turns of 2d8 damage.
As a bonus action.
Yeah, and then attacks focused on the cannon instead of a party member.
Very good point. And some of those might miss. Again, 18 AC is not bad. The other option is a force ballista. So this makes a ranged attack originating from the cannon at one creature or object within 120 feet of it. On a hit, takes 2d8 force damage, and if the target is a creature, it is pushed up to 5 feet away from the cannon. Do they list out what its plus to hit is? Oh, I don't actually see that. Does it have a plus to hit?
Isn't that just
ranged
yours?
spell attack? It's your spell attack.
Thank you. Okay, so once again, your intelligence modifier plus your proficiency bonus. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then does 2d8 force damage and pushes them 5 feet away.
Right. Yeah, and 120 feet range is a lot.
No, and it's a very different playstyle than using the flamethrower.
Right.
Where, as you just said, the flamethrower you expect to get in there, do some quick damage. Maybe you get a big group and get lucky with an attack and do a bunch of damage. The force ballista, you're going to keep it far back. It's going to do nice, consistent damage and kind of do some crowd control. I don't know how many instances where pushing something 5 feet is extremely useful, but it's not bad either.
No.
I mean, it's just getting them out of position and having to deal with stuff.
The other useful thing is you can knock, like say your wizard has a goblin on him.
Right.
You knock it away. If it's the wizard's turn next, no disengage.
No disengage, yeah. I mean, they say it's just a good utility thing. I like that. I honestly feel like I would use that more than the flamethrower just because it's a little bit more consistent, I guess.
I think probably the main one would be the force ballista with the flamethrower situations.
I would always use the flamethrower. It's just objectively a lot cooler.
It is.
That's
that.
totally right.
It's literally
and you can hold it in your hand.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Like,
just as a bonus action. Yeah, just run around
like
with it.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Same thing with the force ballista, though. If it's tiny, you just have it in your hand. The only difference is you can't have it climb up on a wall. And they're probably, I don't know if they would target it. It'd be kind of weird. They're targeting something in your hand. So, yes, they can still damage it. They can still destroy it.
You know what sucks? You should be able to have this on your head.
Why couldn't you?
Yeah, a tiny one can be held in one hand.
Oh, okay. So it has
I don't know what the rules of like things climbing on other things. There are rules, but I don't think it works.
I think the idea is that it should specifically take up your hand. You can't hold a shield and a sword and this thing in your hands.
I know.
At
That's
one time.
what upsets me.
No, I know. I hear you.
I want to have like a hat that shoots fire. That'd be so great.
As long as you just have to activate it with one hand, it fits. It's fine. The last one is the Protector. The cannon emits a burst of positive energy that grants itself and each creature of your choice within 10 feet of it, number of temp HP equal to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier. Something that always is explained in the text, and I'll explain it again, is that temp HP does not stack. So even though it can give you 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier every turn, it overwrites what the previous temp HP was. And if you have any other temp HP as well.
Right.
So that's important to keep in mind. The other bit after that is the 5th level ability of Arcane Firearm. Do we want to talk about the Protector at all? I mean, I feel like we talked about the other ones. This one,
it seems like a decent default if you're not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just not amazing by any means. 1d8 plus 5 temp HP, it's just kind of there.
But in every round, essentially, you're kind of re-healing for 13.
Yeah, it's not
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's just not as exciting,
Especially if everyone's grouped up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of putting a lot of health out there.
And what's nice is then, I guess, being able to hold it in your hand, you can be up there with everyone else, and, maybe they have to focus your wristwatch that's giving out positive vibes. That's all it does. It emits positive energy. All right, so after that, at 5th level, is the Arcane Firearm. So at 5th level, you know how to turn a wand, staff, or rod into an arcane firearm that is a conduit for your destructive spells. When you finish a long rest, you can carve special sigils into a wand, staff, or rod and turn it into your arcane firearm. Sigils disappear from the object if you later carve them on a different item, blah, 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 blah. And then you can add a d8 to spell damage rolls that you cast with that focus.
Right.
That is an important distinction just because otherwise the Force Ballista, if it wasn't cast from you, then that's a ranged spell attack. That would add the 1d8. That does not add the 1d8. That would be silly. So just any spell you cast, cantrip or full spell, you get an extra d8 towards.
Right.
Cool. I like it. No restrictions like the Alchemist one where it had to be a certain damage type.
Right.
But also no healing. Big changes.
The scaling there is interesting because that would affect cantrips.
Correct.
Which at 5th level already go up in damage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like doubling down on it, which as the artillerist, I guess makes sense.
Right. I mean, that's their niche. They're doing damage and they can do a lot of it.
Yep. From far away.
9th level is Explosive Cannon. Every Eldritch Cannon you create is more destructive. The cannon's damage rolls all increase by 1d8, which is just good. I mean, 2d8. That doesn't affect the temp HP, though, does it?
No.
Because it says the damage rolls. So it almost makes Protector less good as you level up.
Right.
Which is odd, because it already doesn't feel amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, your intelligence modifier increases it. So that's I think that's kind of the idea of the scaling.
Yeah, I guess.
But
those increase on... No, okay, those don't take it as well. All right. No, you're right. That does make sense. So they'll probably be about similar in damage and healing.
Right.
So, yeah, 2d8 to 3d8 on everything. I like it. And then, more importantly, and I'm sure, Will, you like this one, as an action, you can command the cannon to detonate if you are within 60 feet of it. Doing so destroys the cannon and forces each creature within 20 feet of it to make a dex saving throw against your spell save DC, taking 3d8 force damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one.
That's dope as hell. Especially with a flamethrower. Just walking it up.
Right.
Just shooting them with flames. They're like, what the hell's going on? Let's beat on it. And then you're like, all right, 3, 2, and then boom. Why?
I love the flavor of it. I feel like the damage is low. Because at this point, it's the explosion does the same amount of damage as its normal bonus action.
The only difference is it's doing it to multiple creatures.
Right.
So it's really easy.
Like the flamethrower.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier to get, multiple creatures in a 20-foot. Is it within 20 feet of it? So that means, I guess, 20-foot radius.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to get things within a 20-foot radius than a 15-foot cone.
Definitely. But it does require an action. That's what I don't like. I think it just blow up every time it gets reduced to 0.
I kind of had that thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how I
it
felt
costs
about
your
that.
reaction. When your cannon drops to 0 hit points, you could use your reaction to cause it to detonate.
I actually like that a lot. That seems pretty fair.
Boom. Write a letter.
Change it. You need to reprint the Artificer. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the bummer is that like, so at 9th level, it's going to have 45 HP and 18 AC still. That's good. I'm not going to say that's like really bad and it's going to die in one hit. But what if it's at like 20 and then something hits it and you're like really planning like, oh, okay, next time it gets low, then I'll explode it. And, oh, sorry, it got dropped to 20 right there. Or it dropped 20 in one hit, so now it's at 0. That's it. It's dead. Sorry. You didn't get your action in time.
Right.
So I was thinking there needs to be something around it dropping to 0. I like the use of a reaction. I guess we'll consider that at the table if it ever comes up. If anybody wants to play an artillerist, I'd have to see it. I think that's one I'd have to actually play with to feel how useful it is.
Right.
And how if it would feel overpowered if when it drops to 0, a reaction to do 3d8 damage in a 20-foot radius. That sounds kind of strong for only a first level spell.
Right.
Because that is all it is, first level spell slot.
Yeah.
All right, next is then Fortified Position at 15th level. You and your allies have half cover while within 10 feet of a cannon you create with Eldritch Cannon as a result of a shimmering field of magical protection that the cannon emits. I like that. That's basically plus 2 AC to everyone who's within 10 feet of it. And that does work on melee attacks as well, not just ranged. So it's pretty good.
Right.
Next, and I think...
a little hard to picture, but...
What do you mean?
How I picture that, it looks like it has like a bubble shield
right.
type thing. And so like ranged attacks are going to be at half cover. But you're right, it does impact melee attacks.
Right.
Which it's just kind of hard to picture how this shield off of it impacts that. So it's not really a bubble shield. It's more like a magical aura that just kind of like fucks with people.
Are you thinking of like a bubble shield from like Halo 3?
Yeah,
they had
I was picturing more like Star Wars, but yeah.
Well, the problem is like in Halo, it was a physical thing.
It was, but you also couldn't. You could walk through the bubble shield. You couldn't.
Oh,
shoot
you're talking
through
about
it.
the transfer ones. I'm talking about they had ones on the turrets too that were physical.
Oh, okay. I don't remember those at all.
Okay, I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, you're right. It's a little bit weird to conceptualize. I guess it is kind of like just a weird aura that makes you a little bit slower or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Little particles flit around in the air, and there's a chance that your sword or whatever's going to hit it when you attack and kind of deflect things, and that's abstracted to plus 2 AC.
Yeah.
That makes.
I'll leave it to the individual artificer to decide what they want it to be. And most importantly, you can now have 2 cannons at the same time. You can create the 2 with the same action, but not the same spell slot, and you can activate both of them with the same bonus action. You determine whether the cannons are identical to each other or different, and you can't create a third cannon. Surprise, surprise. Right. So does that mean that when you initially create a cannon for free, that you would have to create one for free and then use a spell slot? Or do you get 2 for free?
It turns into 2.
You create 2 with the same action. It says.
But not... Okay, so if the action is your free one...
So I do one of those, but now with the spell slot. Doesn't mean you take the action to create it, expending a first level spell slot. Can you expend 2 first level spell slots and get 2?
That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah, which is good.
I'm trying to... It's not that really matters. Is there any other ability in the game that allows you to spend more than one spell slot in an action?
In one use of an action, no. Not that I can think of.
I mean, smites.
No, because that's using a bonus action to cast that spell, and then you're using the spell when you hit something. Smite. Right. I'm saying when you use one of the smites, like you're talking about the spell smites?
No.
Just like Divine Smite.
Divine Smite.
Divine Smite, you can't use multiple. Oh, I guess you're saying when you attack twice.
Yeah.
You hit 2 times.
You could smite twice, yeah.
Okay, you are correct. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the spell smites.
Yeah.
No. It's
okay. Yeah, it's unprecedented.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
It was just a thought.
No, that's all right. You're allowed to think. I like that you can activate both of them with the same bonus action.
Yeah.
You can control both. That just makes sense. Yeah, it's good. You're now twice as good. Awesome. I like it.
Yep. No, overall, I want to like the Artillerist, and this would be one I'd have to really play to understand how good it really is. Initially reading the Eldritch Cannons and going through, I think these don't scale well, but they actually do.
I think in the same way that I was just saying that the elixirs don't. You're like, oh, I like the idea of the alchemist. I think it's a good support. I'm like, I think this is a good damage class.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the exact type of class we should be getting from Wizards of the Coast, is one that makes people go, I like this. Oh, I hate this.
Right.
And then we're all just going to fight for the next 3 years.
Yeah, it does actually scale decently well, though. I mean, at 3rd level, you get them, and they're 2d8 in damage. Then at 9th level, it goes up to 3d8. So 3d8 damage is a bonus action every round for a first level spell.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Right. That you can make explode.
Yeah. And then at 15th, it doubles.
Right.
It's like, okay, that actually scales really well. I just do wonder, compared to like a dedicated caster that you're making as just like a distant nuker, like a sorcerer or something like that, how it would stack up to that.
It's probably going to do less damage, and that's okay.
Because then it does all its core support abilities and infusions. Okay.
And the sorcerer is better off for having a friend that makes some magic wands.
Right.
Right. And I mean, you still get the cantrip. Again, of an extra D8 for your cantrips.
Right.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just useful.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, yeah, I think it's pretty good. It has its own little spot. It's not going to be the main damage dealer, but it's going to compare at the very least.
It's going to be spread out, that's for sure. Because it's a bonus action to activate the cannons.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still do a cantrip and your cannons.
Yep.
Can you, when you have two of them, can you activate both of them with the same bonus action?
Yes.
So you can't.
That's the next part.
Oh, that's what it says. There it is. Okay.
You cannot explode them. You're right, because that takes an action. And
Also,
also,
what a waste.
what's that?
You can't blow up both your cannons at the same time.
Yeah. Sorry, Will. Shit class.
I don't know what to say, man.
All right, we got one more subclass left. Are you guys excited? Man,
Yes.
can I ever get anything from you? I would be a terrible MC.
you're
wouldn't I?
forcing-
If you would have asked about Alchemist Artillerist, it would have been, Battlesmith him. I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm on.
Okay, so
You screwed up.
Yeah, you did too. Should have done it right away. We're getting into the subclass, which do Alchemist. Except for then I misread the main primary ability.
You didn't like
so
it,
it's
yeah.
still lukewarm on it. So I wouldn't have done it then
no,
either. Artillerist though.
No, we're all pretty lukewarm on both of
No,
those.
I said just
No,
like the
you're
Artillerist.
wrong.
I think y'all are just lukewarm people. How about that? How does that feel?
I'll give it to
All right, on to the Battlesmith. Woo!
you. Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin. That was a great woo. I did the woo. It was me. So a Battlesmith is what? They're a combination of a protector and a medic. They are the on-the-field artificer, compared to an artillerist, which is more of the, it almost sounds like the strategic, staying in back, making the crazy weapons. The Battlesmith is like on the ground. They are kind of just the mix. They're in between both of them. So tool proficiency is you gain proficiency with Smith's tools at 3rd level. If you already have it, you gain another artisan's tool. Pretty normal here at this point. For spells, at 3rd level, they get Heroism and Shield. 5th level, they get Branding Smite and Warding Bond. 9th, Aura of Vitality and Conjure Barrage. 13th, Aura of Purity and Fire Shield. And 17th, Banishing Smite and Mass Cure Wounds. So they get a solid mix of support spells and damage spells. They feel like a paladin, really. And getting Aura of Vitality.
I was going to say that's very classic paladin spell, which is really solid.
Yeah.
Just when you have it as a bonus action for like a minute, you can
Correct.
heal 2d6. I
Yes.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's concentration, as you said, 1 minute. Every single turn, you can spend a bonus action to cure somebody within 30 feet of you for 2d6.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So also at 3rd level, they get Battle Ready. When you reach 3rd level, your combat training and your experiments with magic have paid off in 2 ways. First, you gain proficiency with martial weapons. Okay, that's good. Better than simple weapons.
Right.
And when you attack with a magic weapon, you can use your intelligence modifier instead of a strength or dex modifiers for the attack and damage rolls. We finally have it. We have an intelligence fighter,
Right.
or whatever you want to call them. So now we're just missing what? Constitution and wisdom? Well, wisdom you can get with a shillelagh. It's probably not going to work too well. All right, so we need a con
Yeah.
fighter.
That makes me really excited for Wizard Artificer. Wait, I mean, which, since they both have the intelligence requirement, everyone's kind of probably thinking that anyways.
Right.
But then specifically the
Booming Blade?
no, I'm drawing.
Oh.
No, the subclass. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The sword
Battle
dancer.
Wizard?
Oh, you're Blade Singer.
Blade Singer. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to be an elf for that.
That probably will be pretty interesting. And
Yeah.
elves can be artificers too.
I don't know if that's true.
All right. So also at 3rd level, which I'll just say right off the bat, this is like this is like the strongest 3rd level dip of the Artificer. It's almost like an overwhelming amount of things between the core class and this that you're getting at 3rd level, which is not a
Right.
bad thing. So at 3rd level, you get your companion, the Steel Defender. You determine the creature's appearance and whether it has 2 legs or 4, which is very important, except that it doesn't determine game stats at all. It works similar to the homunculus that we talked about earlier, where it takes its turn right after yours, and if you don't tell it to do anything, then it can only take a reaction on its own, it can move, and it will take the dodge action. If you use your bonus action to command it, it can do anything from its stat block, dash, disengage, help, hide, or search. If you use mending on it, it heals 2d6, and if it dies, you can use your smith tools and a spell slot. Does it take an action? Yeah, and an action to revive it. It returns to life after 1 minute, so you're not really going to be doing that in combat too much with all of its HP restored. At the end of a long rest, you can create a new one for free. So, got a big stat block here.
Which is, I don't know, misleading. There's like a lot to it, but it's really just not that great.
No, I am with you. It has a lot of those like kind of complicated things, like its HP, where it equals the Steel Defender's Constitution modifier plus your Intelligence modifier and 5 times your level in this class.
So it will have a decent amount of HP.
Yes.
Give it that.
Yeah.
Armor class only 15, nothing crazy. I guess it's not terrible.
Speed of 40, which is not bad either.
Yeah.
Stat block as a whole, pretty good for what you need it. Strength is +2 mod, dex is +1, con +2. Int -4, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not asking this thing to solve puzzles. Wisdom is 10. Okay. I don't even know why, to be honest. I feel like it doesn't need a high wisdom. It's just a mechanical dog I made.
Right.
And then 6 charisma, which is pretty fair. Saving throws in dex and con, which do go up with your proficiency bonus.
Right. Because this has that same might of the master thing that the homunculus has.
Exactly. Damage immunities, poison. Condition immunities, charmed, exhaustion, poisoned. It has dark vision out to 60 feet, which is good if you're like a human who doesn't have dark vision. You can kind of rely on your buddy.
Can you?
To some extent. No, you're not going to see through its eyes.
Yeah, you can't talk to it. I mean,
but it can point things out and be like, woof, woof. And you're like, why didn't I
You can
install?
talk to it. It understands what you're saying.
No,
like,
but
you can
it-
talk to dogs.
yeah, it can't talk back to. It's not going to relay information to you.
You think it can
bark.
make? Yeah, that's all I can say. Would it be able to make any noise? It doesn't say it has a language.
Languages
but
understands the languages you speak.
does it need a language to make noise though?
No.
No.
Because the dogs don't.
Are
have
bears
language.
like silent in D&D now?
right? That's I guess kind of my point. is-
language, so it doesn't growl.
Bear languages. Bear growls.
It's you know what? It's going to be entirely flavor, so it doesn't matter. You're
Yeah.
still going to have disadvantage on the attack if you can't see.
Right.
There's no getting around that. It also has then vigilant, so it can't be surprised. Okay, that actually is nice because maybe it's going to alert your party if something comes around.
I feel like you should be allowed to kind of just like use him as the camp watchdog.
Yeah, and
Sure, that's fair. You don't have to make people take watch because that's always so terrible.
you guys just haven't had a single random encounter from taking watch.
We have
Just one, I think.
maybe.
Yes, we have.
No, but I mean, it's like it's not a big deal to
Right.
divvy up watches,
Right.
versus having this thing do it all night. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really make that big a difference.
Changes literally nothing. You still need to hang around for 8 hours.
right? And then actually, the 2 hours you spend up for watch is kind of like a good excuse to do something a little flavorful.
Right.
You sit there and you're whittling on your thing, or
Right.
you're cataloging your magic items, or whatever.
Right. Or if you're Will, you pull up your tablet and watch hentai.
Exactly. That's why I never catch any of the bandits.
Sorry, that was a bit of a sidetrack. So it has the action that requires your bonus action of Force Empowered Ren, which is a really long way to say it just hits somebody. Melee weapon attack, +4 to hit, goes up with your proficiency bonus just like everything else. Does 1d8 +2 force damage. It is nice that it does force damage. It's not that much damage, but
No. And the
again,
+2 goes up with your proficiency as well. But
it's not bad. It's similar to, I mean, right now we've got a ranger who uses a hand crossbow for his bonus action. He's got crossbow expert. That does 1d6 plus his dexterity mod. It's similar in damage,
right.
Then it has repair, so it can repair itself 2d8 plus 2 HP or to one construct within 5 feet of it or object. I don't know when that's going to come up, but
If
I like
you
the
had
idea.
a homunculus.
If you had a homunculus as well. Yeah, I guess
Which
that's true.
would not combine well with this.
It just doesn't add anything. They're both taking up your bonus action. So
Yeah.
that's kind of dumb. And then lastly, as a reaction, it can deflect attack. The defender imposes disadvantage on the attack roll of one creature it can see that is within 5 feet of it, provided the attack roll is against a creature other than the defender. That's great. I love that. That's
Yeah.
at least a very good use of it. Yeah, that's all I have. It's just, it's okay.
Yeah, like, and this is the main thing for the class. Getting the Steel Defender.
Right.
And I mean, it's clearly built around trying to be tanky and defend people and absorb damage, which isn't really a thing in D&D. At best, you'll be able to oppose disadvantage with your reaction. It doesn't hit hard enough to really scare someone off from getting an opportunity attack and moving away from it. There's no way to lock something down. It's not like you give this thing Sentinel or anything like that, or Polar Master or whatever.
I mean, deflect attack is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, disadvantage again on and at every round giving that an attack it's definitely not bad.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for?
It's
Yeah,
I
it's a
misread
reaction.
that. It's a on all attacks of one creature. I thought it was like the protection feat.
What do you mean? Sorry, it says the attack.
Yeah, I
roll
misread. I thought it was
of
like
one
the
creature.
not feat, the fighting style protection where you could impose disadvantage on one attack if you have a shield.
Right.
This is the defender imposes a disadvantage on the attack roll of one creature. Oh,
Yeah.
it's still kind of the same thing. Okay.
Yeah, it might just be worded a little
Yeah.
differently. But it's still just one attack.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's nothing crazy.
The
It's
reaction-
not like those cannons where you could do 2d8 bonus damage.
This isn't a
every
bonus
single-
action, though.
The reaction is for free. It can take its reaction
Yeah.
without you commanding it.
Right. But I'm saying it feels
Lackluster.
it's like it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm
Right.
just saying it's okay.
I honestly can't remember I think it does power up at some point. Yeah, 15th level. Maybe at Arcane Jolt. I don't know. Let's get into it. Extra attack at 5th level, so you can attack twice rather than once. So that's good. That makes perfect sense for this class. You should have that at 5th level
Right.
to keep up in scale. And then 9th level is Arcane Jolt. At 9th level, you learn new ways to channel arcane energy to harm or heal. When either you hit a target with a magic weapon attack or your Steel Defender hits a target, you can channel magical energy through the strike to create one of the following effects. The target takes 2d6 force damage, or choose one creature or object you can see within 30 feet. Healing energy flows into the chosen recipient, restoring 2d6 HP to it. I mean, that's pretty good. So now you're talking
Right.
about increasing your general on your turn damage 2d6, and the defender here gives you another opportunity for that. You now have 3 attacks that you can use to get that.
Right. But it's
So-
still only once per turn, right?
Correct. It's only once per turn, but an extra 2d6 damage
No, it's-
or 2d6 healing.
You can use it up to your intelligence modifier, man.
Oh, shoot. I should have read the next sentence. All right.
Oh yeah, when you finish a long rest. Yeah.
So you can use this energy a number of times equal to your int modifier, but you can do so no more than once on a turn. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
That kind of sucks.
That's 5 times
Yeah.
per long rest.
extra 2d6, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not loving that, to be honest.
Yikes.
I'd rather it be 1d6 and be once a turn.
Right.
It goes up with the next thing.
Yeah.
Per defender at 15.
Yeah, so improved defender at 15th level, your arcane jolt and steel defender become more powerful. The extra damage and healing of your arcane jolt becomes 4d6, which is good. Steel defender gains +2 bonus to armor class, so it took until level 15 for it to go from 15 AC to 17,
Right.
which the cannons get at level 3, 18 at
yeah.
level 3. And then lastly, whenever your steel defender uses its deflect attack, the attacker takes force damage equal to 1d4 plus your int mod, which is okay. I mean, you're probably going to be using that every single turn as it is. So getting an extra 7 damage per turn is okay. But it's just kind of okay.
Right.
I feel like this class is just okay.
Subclass.
Subclass,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
also, like, even, again, back on the Steel Defender, as like, it's defends and all that, its hit points is only slightly higher than the cannons. They both have the 5 times your Artificer level. The Steel Defender just gets the +2 for con and then plus your intelligence modifier.
Yeah.
So it gets like +7 more hit points than the cannons and 3 less AC.
I really feel like the Steel Defender's con modifier, like,
Should go up.
it feels like that should be based on your level as well. Like, that just feels like a total mess up where it's, that's how most con modifiers work, is every level you get your con modifier again. I feel like you should be getting the con modifier again on this.
It says the skill and saving throw bonuses go up by 1.
Correct. Oh,
So
okay, so it does continue
think
to go
it
up.
does.
Oh, skill. No.
No, the con modifier is not. That's your ability
Correct.
score.
You're correct. So, like, your saving throw of Dex +3 goes up to +4.
Right.
And your skill of athletics of +4 goes up to +5.
Right. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Doesn't affect the actual skills themselves. It also makes the repair better. That's, I guess, one thing as well, is it will last longer than the cannon because it can do 2d8 plus 2 healing on itself, and that plus 2 goes up as the proficiency bonus does as well.
Right.
I think the biggest change is the speed.
Speed of 40. That's
those
true.
cannons are not moving.
Right. Speed of 40 and then the reaction of deflect attack.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
I don't think it's bad. I think that it's just a very middle of the road. And when you're looking at the Alchemist, which is full on support, and the Artillerist, which is full on damage, and this one where you're like, okay, you're kind of both, but you're not great at either.
Right.
I think it's one that I would have no issue playing this. But looking at its stat blocks and trying to compare it to everything else, it's just not as good.
Right.
But I'd still play it.
Yeah.
It'd still be fun.
That being said, I could see some cool multi-classing potential.
True.
With a martial class fighter or barbarian. Start as fighter to get heavy armor with this. And then go into this and then back to fighter. So you're this with, but you can still just focus on strength and intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess con. And then you're this class with action surge and second wind and a fighting style.
Infusions.
Yeah, then with the infusions of the Artificer and all that.
It goes well with Rogue, too. This,
This
is probably the best
give
thing
you
to give
sneak attack. Oh shit! Yeah,
That's a very good point.
Yeah. This with Rogue, give yourself sneak attack a lot.
For no reason other than... Oh, no, go ahead with that.
Well, 'cause there's the kind of other way around that to be able to give yourself sneak attack as Rogue is what I'm doing. Arcane Trickster with Find Familiar.
Right.
And I mean, the Find Familiar is super fucking fragile.
Right.
They 1 hit point, 13 AC, I think. It's like, which is fine. I mean, so he's killed all the time, which kind of takes that away. This is a lot harder to do, and it will count as an ally within 5 feet.
And you get, that disadvantage addition as well.
So if you're doing
Right.
like a melee rogue thing, I think this is actually perfect.
Yeah.
And you don't have to waste your bonus action disengaging. You can do even more damage, and he'll defend you.
Right.
Oh,
So that would be a play.
or you get those that infusion. We were talking about the boots one. You're like, oh, that's pointless if you're a rogue because you can just use your bonus action to disengage. But you might be using your bonus action
there
for
you go.
this. That one, you're just like, you run up there, you get your sneak attack, and I'm back 15 feet. So
Yeah.
now you got to run away from my defender,
Right.
take that reaction,
Right.
unless he used it for disadvantage.
And
But
you still get into attacks.
Yeah.
And then all that. Yeah. Okay.
That's why it's a good combo, because you
yeah.
do get the 2 attacks and rogues don't.
Right.
Okay, so that is interesting. That's kind of a funny 180 we just took, where it's
Right.
like, oh, this is really mediocre by itself, but as a multi-class,
Right.
this is opening a lot of doors. Because sometimes you don't want the ones that are so unilaterally good at something when you're multi-classing, because they scale so much. So like the monk, where it's so linear,
Right.
you're forced into just doing monk stuff. This one, you're not forced into doing anything. You're kind of okay at everything, and as long as it fits your build, it's adding something. And you're still a half caster. At the end of the day, you're still getting infusions. You're still a half caster, and then you get this guy who just helps.
Right.
I like it,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely gonna like it for multi-classing.
Yeah. I'm excited to do future episodes with Artificer Blank.
Cool.
That's 12 more episodes
So
for us.
right. So now that we've gone through it as a whole, I don't want like a whole paragraph of final thoughts, but I mean, how are you guys feeling about the Artificer? This is a pretty in-depth look at it.
It's all right.
It's all right. Okay. It's no warlock.
It's not a warlock.
Is it better than a monk?
Yeah, it's a lot better than mine.
How does it compare to a paladin?
I hate paladins. You know that.
Kevin?
I like it a lot. This actually, I know just within the community, there's been some backlash on it. People like saying, oh, this seems really weak and not that great. I think it's a lot of people trying to look at it solo. If the Artificer is by itself, sure, it's not that great. But in a party, acting as a support class, I think it could be fantastic and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'd be excited to play it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think there's a lot here. I think they did a really good job of making sure that these subclasses feel different too.
For sure.
And just making sure the Artificer feels like its own unique thing as a whole. It just gives you so many options for how you want to reflavor it. So I'm happy with it. I think it was tough to add an additional class into 5e after 5 years now.
Yeah,
I know they
2014 it came
right.
out. Yeah,
I know that every other 3 and 5 had other classes and everything, but everybody talks about the classes that they added with such revere. They're like, oh yeah, remember when they added psionics? That literally ruined 3.5. So
Half of it was because it's multi-class.
yep. So I think they took their time with this, and again, it really shows. It's I think there's a lot here. It's good.
yeah. I'm glad. interesting to see how it will affect things. Because, I mean, yeah, 5 years, first actual official new class coming out. It's kind of a big thing.
Right.
I think they handled it well. It does not feel like this is going to break anything except for maybe the spell story. But then again, like the healing spirit Ranger Druid bullshit kind of already did that anyways.
As they've discussed before, when it comes to out of combat healing, Wizards of the Coast doesn't care. Yeah. And I don't blame them entirely, because every time it's like, oh, but they'll get full health. It's like, yeah, but then what? It's like, but then it's harder to just do more damage. Shut up, get out of here. Talk to us about real problems like the coffee lock. So, yeah. I think that's it for this episode. We didn't have a promotional break, so if you stuck around this long, you probably already do follow us everywhere you need to. But I guess we do have a bit of an announcement. We recently started a Patreon, so if you want to check that out, I'm sure there'll be some coinciding social media posts. So you can follow us on Twitter. It's Monsters_Multi. Subscribe to our subreddit, which is our Monsters and Multiclass. Subscribe to us wherever you can. Leave a review, and check out our Patreon. It's mostly going to be Discord related stuff and pretty simple. We're keeping it pretty simple for a reason. We don't have that much to do with it, but it's just something that we figured we'd throw up there. We can start reinvesting in giveaways and equipment and just keep making this whole thing better. So if you like us and want to support us, now you've got a way to do it.
Thanks for listening. Next time.
Next time on Monsters and Multiclass.
All right, so
we're
next
gonna
time,
do what we said.
I promise, we're actually going to do the Cleric Fighter. So if you were actually excited for the Cleric Fighter and whatever the monster was, it's not just... We already did it. So I think it was the Barghest, or did we do the Barghest?
I don't remember. It's not important.
Yeah,
it's whatever we said next time.
Whatever we said last time. Listen to the last episode. Listen to Monk Paladin. Listen to that, and then you'll know what's happening next week. If you're confused, too bad.
Perfect.